Alistair, as you look around the busy streets of East Ardoyne, everything looks a little brighter, a little bigger. The forest of octagonal spires that mark the distinctive architecture, the distinctive skyline of Ardoyne itself, they seem to stretch higher into the sky. You look down and you see your own hands, smooth, uncalloused. And you realize you are young. You are free of pain, hardship. You are innocent, probably no more than 10 years old. As you look around, you can hear shouts, you can hear laughter, you can hear people exclaiming to each other excitedly. You look around in the street and you see people coming out of their houses, hugging each other. You see these bright streamers kind of going up into the air, being strung across the street. What do, Kid Alistair?
I don't know. What are they all so happy for?
You could ask someone.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, you don't completely understand what's going on, though you do see that there is sort of a town crier uh, right there in the center of the square, just sort of ringing a bell, kind of laughing along with everyone else.
So yeah, Kid Alistair walks up to him and says, "Why is everybody so happy?"
Oh, haven't you heard, boy? The ogre struggles are over. King Tyrus has triumphed. Ha ha! You may not understand this, kid, but this is a bright day indeed for Kandarin.
Oh.
And somewhere in the distance behind you, you hear a voice calling out, Alistair! Alistair! Allie! Allie, where are you? You turn around and you see your father looking as he always did. His hair a little bit disheveled. You can see ink stains on his fingers. And when he spots you, he kind of rushes up, picks you up in one smooth motion, and holds you aloft in the air. Something that you're already clearly too big for, that he hasn't done in quite a while. But you can just see the exuberance on his face. He brings you in for a hug. He says, huh, you know what this means, Allie, my boy?
Nukes. No, Dad.
Someday you'll look back at this and you'll know that this is the day that everything turned around for this kingdom. All my life, we've lived with the goblins and the ogres hanging over us, not knowing if they'd rise up from the south. And now Ynil is finally free. Kid, you probably don't even know. Oh, I've never even taken you to Ynil. You know what? I promise, I will. I visited it. First time I saw it, I was about your age, and it's really something. The clockworks, the mages. Allie, I'm so happy because you won't grow up. You won't live in a Kandarin like the one that I knew. You'll live in a Kandarin that's free, that's without fear. Well, come on. We should probably go find your mother, shouldn't we?
You don't want her to yell at you again, do you?
No. I love you, boy. And he kind of takes you by the hand and walks you back towards your home. You turn once more towards the town crier. You realize you're not looking at that town crier. You're not looking at these colorful streamers. You're not hearing the laughter. You're seeing Kandarin as it is now. The town crier that you do see is a different one, slightly different livery. He's shouting about the vaccine discovered by the Surgeons and Apothecaries Guild. city itself looks a little smaller. It's not any not any dingier. If anything, it's slightly more clean, but it doesn't have that vibrance, doesn't have that exuberance. And you know, you're not innocent anymore. And you didn't end up growing in that free candor that was promised to you. You look around, you see your companions. What are you guys doing?
Fiddling with my microphone settings.
Oh, hey, that didn't have
Yes.
any static with it.
Oh, didn't it? Okay, that's good.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, never mind, it did. But
Oh,
Natrix and Don are gone, right? So Don can't say anything.
I think so. I think we said that we're going off on a trip to the
Oh,
zoo.
yeah, that you guys went off a little earlier.
Yeah.
Alistair kind of looks at the rest of them like, so, Notrix and Dawn went to the zoo. I can't wait to hear about that in the papers. What are the rest of us doing?
I'm sure it won't be that bad. Besides, a few animal fun won't be the worst thing in the world for them.
Natrix should be able to keep Dawn in check. Hopefully.
Well,
Hey, if they want to pursue their own animal magnetism, I say go.
how would animals and magnets work? That makes no sense.
testing, testing.
Nah, it's still there. It's honestly not that bad though.
Yeah. Like, it was a lot worse before.
We can live with it. Don't worry about it.
Like, what kind of sound is it?
Crackly.
Just like a slight crackle. It's like you're crunching racks, you know? But it's very, very light. Don't worry about it. Trust me. But yeah,
What's everyone doing?
what's everyone doing?
Well, I know what I'm doing.
Seems like
Same.
no one wants to tell me what they're doing. So,
I'm trying to see
the
if
city
I can
moves
prove.
I'm going to the library.
I know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to figure out a good way to bring it up in character.
So,
Well,
you guys sort of just start to stroll down the promenade. You can see that the crowd's thin a little bit. Not everyone's coming out to hear the town crier anymore. But you do spot the occasional. You saw a number of different guards, different stern young men wielding weapons when you were in the High Market. You see a few of them kind of heading down the street, but you see that now one set of them walking on the right side of the street is wearing these helmets with these very elaborate red plumes just sticking straight out of the top. And you can notice them, these peacocks strutting down the street, just glaring daggers at another group in different livery, wearing what are these felt hats that are almost resemble top hats, but have three big white feathers sticking out of them. And they are just glaring at each other right now. They kind of catch the eye.
What's all that about?
well, look at that convenient background thing.
Alistair just,
How is this in any way convenient, worsened?
Well, I could tell you later when I think about why it's con.
Yes, spare me the details right now.
did you guys magically find something to do or what? Come on.
Well, I was
Well-
hoping to do a little bit of recon, you might say. Maybe finding out a bit more about the region in general.
Yes, and I was looking to send some mail to someone.
Yeah, that's by the market.
I don't know about you, but I got a friend I kind of wanna visit. I don't know if I can do it alone, and you know, at least I think that's the same person. He kind of shrugs, looks around, and looks back at the group, sighing. Eh, but they'll probably be around here when we after a few things. So Al, what kind of libraries?
That's a damn good question. What kind of libraries are there around here?
Roll a history check with advantage.
I almost did that with worsened. Whoops.
If you roll
I
too
mean, he
low,
might
your
have bigger,
character is
better hit.
retroactively illiterate.
Well, for you, it's a very low check. Maybe not quite that low, so you're not sure about all of them. It's been a while since you've been in the city, though you know about a few sources where you could probably look things up, research in general. One of them, of course, is the Amguedfa Museum, which is located on Proscenium Row. It's a museum dedicated to the history of Kandarin and also with a special emphasis on the history of the elves. You know that they have a public reading room. You're not sure if they have very much research material or research material that you could get into. Um, you're also familiar with place called the Tirafon Conservatory. Now, that is an extremely exclusive place that is actually within the walls of Crown Rise, very close to the castle. And it's mostly known as a very exclusive academy, sort of for nobility, for guild masters, for sort of the upper echelon of society. And then there's the Proclaimers Union, which you remember well. It's an uncharted, unchartered guild in the Watercut Banks, which is in the River Ward, and it's uh, sort of a guild for scholars, tutors, where most of kind of the wealthy and noble of Kandarin go to find instructors for their children, but it also maintains its own extensive records on iconography, on religious information, on various groups in the city.
Actually, yes, I think I'll go with that one for Alistair first, anyway.
The Proclaimers Union?
Yes.
All right. Does anyone accompany you?
I think Elkanah might actually go with them.
I'm for that elf history, so
Hmm. Where was the Proclaimers Union again?
The Proclaimers Union is in the district known as Watercut Banks. Let me put the map back up.
It's in the middle. Quite literally. The middle.
Oh. Okay. Would it since we're at the around North March Proscenium Road right now, and the post office is in the High Market, I believe.
That's right.
Would it be okay to say that Logi could do his thing there really quick and then get with the others at Watercut?
Sure, of course. So, as Logi and Alistair and Alcana head head south, Worsened, you are staying in Proscenium Row, heading to the Guedfa Museum.
I mean, unless there was any sign that Al's museum had any elven things about it.
Elf religion, but aside from that, no, probably not.
You know. Yeah.
All right. So, worsened. As you approach the Amguedfa Museum itself, it is a sort of tall, well built structure, this light colored stone, along with the standard kind of multi part, intricate gables that you've come to recognize as a signature of Kandarin architecture. See, there's a large sort of covered, um, not a porto, but a yeah, kind of a portico on the all along the front of it, and you see that there are these just impressionistic statues of both human and elven figures lined up outside. As you enter you, through the large kind of wood and glass doors, you can see that it is actually very elaborate, very posh looking sort of entry hall. You can see that there's this, uh, these windows about 15 feet high, streaming in sunlight. The walls are, floors are polished marble, and you can see that there are actually these potted trees, uh, what look like these ornamental maples in the corner of the room. As you approach sort of the front desk, you can see a sort of middle-aged woman, blonde hair, sitting there, and she sort of smiles at you as you approach. She says, "Oh, hello, sir. Welcome to the Amguadfa Museum. Is this your first time visiting?"
Why,
Yes.
yes, it is.
Oh wait, never mind. Sorry.
And it's also one of the very few first times I've been to Ardoin proper.
Oh, really? One of your first times in Ardoin? Well, this is a wonderful place to start. We consider ourselves the repository of Ardoin's cultural legacies.
Hmm. I did hear briefly about this place being that, so if you say it, then it must be true. Gives a small.
She kind of smiles back and she says, "As well, standard admission is 6 silver pieces, and you can witness in our East Wing. We have articles related more to the early history of Ardoin, to the warriors, to the founders, to Queen Candace. In our uh, now I forget if I just said West or East.
East.
East, yeah.
Yes, and in our West Wing, you can find articles more, exhibits more related to general elven history as well as wider Kandarin, the gnomes. And in our Northern Wing, we have a small reading room and our research facilities. However, we generally only offer those to students or to members with noble writs.
I see. I see. And uh, oh god, I forgot what I wanted to say. uh, not. He just he smiles and says, "Sure, I'd love to read everything related to Elven culture there. I've heard quite a bit more brighter stories about them, but recently also there's kind of been a rumor that they're not being treated as as proper as other people here. Is that true?"
Oh, sir, you must certainly be from outside Kandarin. Uh, the history of the elves in this kingdom is a complicated one. However, for years and years, for decades, they, well, they enslaved the native humans. They pushed the gnomes out. They uh, forced people into these mercenary armies, broke up families. You understand, the legacy of Baxtorian is not a pretty one. Now, it goes without saying, the elves had their sophistications. They made many innovations that we, well, have come to benefit mankind, however. They were certainly never allies, certainly never anything but enemies to us. You know, it's only in the past year have we emerged victorious from another war with the elves in the dark lands to the west.
That's kind of a shame. I thought perhaps there was a chance for peace, but seems like it's
Oh
quite
well, there
far
is
away from.
peace now, thanks to the efforts of King Tyrus, bless his soul.
Well, I was thinking more of an alliance, but sadly, this is the state of it. This is kind of saddening on my bardic heart to hear. But history is history, and it's written by the victors. So,
So,
but yes,
sir, if you would like, I could give you a brief tour of either the West Wing or the reading room. There's where you're most likely to find more information about the elves in Kandarin.
gladly. And is this tour like out of character? Is this tour part of the admission or?
Yeah, it's part of the admission.
Okay, then yeah. On to your time. So
And
yeah, I think I only have gold, so Sep might have to do some conversions, gold to silver.
I mean, 1 gold is 10 silver.
And how much is he
Yeah.
paying?
7 silver pieces.
You said 6.
Oh, did I say 6? All right, 6.
Yeah.
So she kind of begins leading you through the West Wing first. It's what you'd expect in a museum. Outside of the main hall, the walls are not quite as ostentatious, though it's definitely very well kept, kind of whitewashed and exhibits. There are fragments of elven statue, elven tools. There's even sort of at the center of this room, in a separate kind of pedestal under glass, what it calls an authentic elven crystal, and it has a little blurb there on the lost elven arts of crystal song, and how now man is certain groups are starting to try to reconstruct this, learn this in Yanil. But as you're taken on this tour, Worsend, are you looking for anything in particular?
Hmm. You know, I'm gonna just look into potentially. I'm not sure how much Orin did tell him about elven history to confirm or deny, like the crystals and all that. So essentially, just try and think about what he said and then quote unquote fact check it with all the things here. Kind of a redundant way to go about this, but
Uh, yeah, as you sort of are taken through the tour and then finally kind of deposited in the reading room, which is very small. It's, a few comfortable chairs, a table, and a variety of what look like mostly kind of lower reading level books around here. Some of them are even venture on picture books. These are not definitely not like high tier scholarly resources, but what you can put together, you don't find that anything that you manage to put together from Aureen's, what she told you, is wrong. It seems to all coalesce here, all make sense. A couple interesting things that you find out, basic information, is that this kingdom, when underneath the elves, was named Tiraphon. It did not encompass the entirety of modern day Kandarin. It was more central Kandarin and part of Harundri. Uh, Before them, the gnomish name for this kingdom was Kanundri, which was probably eventually kind of regressed into, or not regressed, but was modified by humans into Kandarin. Uh, you also find something interesting that in one exhibit, that it says that there's a common misconception that the elves worshipped a goddess named Saren, but that is actually because Saren is their word for star, which is considered an aspect of the goddess Thled, the goddess that they do worship, who is sort of an embodiment of ambition and of power and of might.
So what you're saying is these elves were pleb. Or wait, did he say? Oh,
Thled. It's kind of a weird Welsh pronunciation.
Welsh is weird in general.
Yeah, we're just plebs. Plebs.
But what you
Ah,
find does seem to support that, if anything, it was actually the humans who were plebs in the elven kingdoms. Yeah, you find that backstory, and from everything you can tell, Zahedinus was a cruel ruler until he was finally deposed by a trio of nomadic warlords from the south, Dentor the Brave, Haziel the Grim, and Khazard the Elder. It seems to indicate that Khazard, in particular, was instrumental in breaking Backstorian's spirit and pushing him back west across the mountains.
Does this western part of their civilization have a name? Did it pop?
Yes, the name for it was Tirafon.
Oh, that was not okay. Sorry, I don't have a notebook here, so kind of hard for me to remember.
That's in the recording.
Thanks, Leighton.
No problem.
So, after some reading and all that, I think that Worsend might look into something that well, a book that might be related to, I don't know, anything magical related to them, maybe.
All right, roll an investigation check.
Step, you do it.
Hot damn. All right, so
How
It-
much? So?
a
22.
lot of what you're able to put together is less direct documents you're able to find or direct exhibits as it is kind of putting things together with your own powers of inference, critical thinking, because this seems to be whatever information is publicly available does not go into it in depth. You can find sort of implied in different exhibits mentioning their degeneracy and kind of their addictive personalities that the art itself of Crystal Song and its lesser variant, the art of Blade Song, uh, while it endowed the elves with great power and supposedly even some intelligence, that its allure was addictive and that overuse of these crystals, which themselves are supposed to be, at least in the elven tradition, kind of these fragments of creation, these sort of ancient, powerful relics, that overuse of it could backfire on them, could make them addicts, and could leave them as just sort of husks of themselves. And everything that you find suggests that while the elves that came to Kandarin were these beautiful, sophisticated creatures, that the elves that left Kandarin were far more sickly, were sunken, and had become just petty and spiteful and driven by paranoia and infighting, partially as a result of the abuse of this unique form of magic.
Worsend size looks into things. Sorry.
Oh no, issues with Mike.
Oh no.
It's not a D&D
So-
session
Not
without
Mike,
technical
he's my
issues.
favorite guy.
So while Worsend is researching this, further to the south, are Alistair and Alcana waiting outside while Logie goes to the post office?
Unless he wants us
I
to
guess-
come in with him.
I don't really see any reason why Alcana would want to go with him to the post office, so yeah, I guess she's just hanging outside with Alistair.
You know, I just realized that it doesn't make sense for Alistair, no, for Logie to follow these guys afterwards. So maybe they shouldn't wait. But it'll be clear after I do the thing. So I walk into the post office. Is there a clerk or whatever?
Yes, the post office itself, you can see it's not the kind of elaborate wattle and daub of most of the buildings here. It seems to actually be a tower, and you can clearly see the foundation of it is much older stone. And Alistair would know, if he's there to tell you, that the bottoms of this come from an elf ruin, that the kind of this building is built over a much older elven structure. As you enter within, it's fairly dim inside, sort of in the manner of an adobe. The windows are small, very thick walls, but there is a clerk, and you can see that it's sort of all one room here, and you can see like different sort of large canvas carts being pushed back and forth with different small packages and letters and things beyond. But you see kind of a slightly frazzled looking young man sitting there, and he says, "Oh, hello there. Hello. Can I help you?"
Yes, I would like to send a letter, if that would be possible.
All right, well, that is what we do here. There are actually like several desks and clerks, but this is the one who happened to help you. And is this going to be just a standard post, standard priority, simple paper? Is this going to be a bulky item?
It is going to be a simple letter, but first, how long does it take you to send out these letters? Do they wait here a while before you send them?
Well, as you can tell, we're a bit busy. We've got a little bit of a backlog going on right now, a lot of posts being sent out. But we do have multiple grades of post. If you want to send it standard, you can expect it to arrive within the next 3 months at least. We have different grades of express, and if you go for the highest grade, then we will send your mail priority on our first ship or cart or whichever ground means of transport we have to get it to as quickly as possible. If you need something that is, a same day sort of service, obviously we don't do that here. However, we do have an arrangement with Tir Tor in Westmarch, and if you go there, we can help to give you a writ to arrange something with a wizard working there.
Well, it's. I was thinking of something same day, but it's very local. It's only shouldn't be too far. It is in Candrin, probably not very far from Ardoin, but if you don't have the capacity, I suppose I will have to speak to this wizard.
Certainly. We do also have if your post is local, there's a chance that it'll probably naturally get sorted to the top anyways. If you want to pay for priority mail, well, we probably wouldn't get it out same day, but certainly within the week.
Oh, now that's good. Okay. Yes, I would like that. What is the price of a priority mail?
That will be 5 gold pieces. For standard mail, more extra charges apply on bulky items.
Ah, no, it's only standard. Okay. Um, I'll. All right. Here's the money, and I'll go write that letter.
We do have scribes on service in case you do not have letters yourself. That is common for many of the people who use the post here. Will you require the service of a scribe? That will be an additional charge.
I do not require the assistance of a scribe. I can write myself.
Oh, very good, sir. Well, we have tables available at the corner.
Okay,
You do
now.
indeed see that there are, tables with pens. They don't seem to provide paper, or well, they do, but it's priced at a couple coppers for each sheet.
Okay. Now, what I write in this letter isn't terribly important. It's who I'm writing it to. I'm going to write. Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. I had this elaborate plan, but I just realized. Well, it might work anyway. I was planning on sending a letter to Wilkins Cauldron in the hope that I could figure out where he lives. But I just realized that the entire point of sending a letter is that you have to know someone's address first.
You fucking zoomer! Have you ever sent a letter before?
Seriously.
Absolute
Uh,
zoomer!
Craig!
My back is hurting.
Posture check.
Huh.
Yeah, so this realization hits Loki as he's sitting down to write. So, um, well, are there like registers? Maybe he has a PO box or something.
Um, so you go up to the clerk. You ask about if there is a PO box or anything. He says, "Oh, well, hold on." He takes a minute. We don't have any maintain any box for anyone with that name. Do you have any more information about them and a place of work or a place where they were educated, anything like that?
Oh yes, I do know their place of work. It's and Logie tells him the name of the place because I can't remember.
The the Backstall Playhouse.
Oh,
And
and I do know he was educated at Firin.
oh, at the College of Astrology.
Logie, not knowing that that was what it is, says yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, if he's not, if he's working at this playhouse, then he's not going to be on any guild registries. However, you, according to our records here, that playhouse is owned by House Hallgrive. This may be a long shot, sir, but you could send your letter to him care of House Hallgrive.
To sorry, I didn't catch that.
You could possibly send your letter care of House Hallgrive. I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. According to our records, they are the owners of this establishment.
Ah, yes. That. Yes, that could work.
All right. Very good, sir. Yes. Well, that certainly makes your letter a much higher priority.
Sure it does.
So, Logie, you write a letter to Wilkins Cauldron, care of House Hallgrave.
Yes. And I think I'll DM you the contents because I can't think exactly what I'm going to say off the top
Oh,
of my
yeah,
head.
that's fine. But you write it, you pay for it, and as you do, the clerk says, "Oh, actually, the Hallgrave estate gets quite a bit of correspondence. They're involved with the Judicators Guild and all that, but, well, this is priority mail. My guess is that it'll end up on the top of the pile."
Ah, yes, that's very good, very good.
Well, good luck to you, sir, and good day.
Good day.
So, meanwhile, Alistair
Testing.
and Alcana. Oh, what was that?
Oh, good. I was testing.
Oh, you're here. All right. So, worsened. An epilogue to your jaunt to the Amgwedfin.
Well, like I just said in text, I would like to try and take that book where I found the information about the crystals potentially corrupting the elves and all.
Okay, all right. So there's not a book that sort of says this outright. As I said, that was kind of what you put together out of various
Oh,
clues and
right,
different
right,
exhibits
right.
and different books. Um, though you might find one book that sort of explicitly talks about how sort of broken they are by the time they reach Kandarin, and you could try to secret that one away if you wish.
Hmm. Why resort to stealing when I could just copy?
So you
With
just
paper.
sit down with some paper and just transcribe the contents of that passage.
Yes, and also, add a few bits of the extra things I put to compile.
All right, very nice. Compile all that together, and all this time in the museum, it takes a couple hours to see everything, to read through the books in the reading room, to scribe this all down. So I want to ask,
Sure.
after that, does Wersent have any plans with his day?
Well, there is one, but I don't think I'll be able to make it in like 40 minutes that I have here. Probably.
All right. So is that
Oh,
is this
oh,
something
wait,
that
I
I
have
might
another.
do, or is that I'm not going to talk about it now?
Oh, I just came up with another thing. So, after the whole museum thing and copying and all that, I'm assuming that he's just gonna stare into the crystals extra deeply, and if if he thinks he can't get anything magical out of them, but he's just gonna leave and do another thing I want to do.
All right. Could I see a charisma roll for Worsend?
I don't know. Could Sep help with that?
Just straight charisma?
Yeah, just straight charisma. Yeah, you stare deeply into this crystal. It's small, it's just sort of clear, multifaceted. It doesn't actually look like much just on its own, and you're not really able to pick up anything from it, even as you stare at it for a half hour.
Fair enough. So after that, just go back to good old Mr. Ron D. Stat and give him the copy of the Hair of Haranu playbook, which changes the names, obviously.
Yeah, you go find the address that he wrote for you in Charnel Point. As you approach Charnel Point, you see here the streets are not quite as well paved. The cobblestones themselves are a lot more uneven, and you do catch this sort of odd, sort of sour, earthy scent on the air. You do find his place. It's a small flat on this narrow building. As you approach his place, you hear him kind of yelling at someone. You knock and the door opens very quickly, and you see a guy, and clearly in some sort of a costume, sheepishly kind of comes scurrying out. And RRS is behind us saying, I said I wanted pathos! I wanted human emotion! You're useless! Oh, okay, hello there, hi!
Hey, Mr. Stat. I came with a better version of a. How are you doing, by the way? Still bad with like doing the repetitions and all, or is that?
Oh, it's fine, it's wonderful, I love what you gave me, And he kind of grabs that out of your hand. And I can already tell I'm going to love this. It is fantastic. I like that you call me Rondi. That's fine. You know, my friends happen to call me that. My real name is Rondell Staten. But whatever you want to call me, that's fine. I think this is going to be a great project.
Oh wow. You know, last time you said Rondi was good, but sure, I'll call you Ron.
And
So,
as he sort of sits down with the script, starts reading over it, do you do anything else with him? Kind of just walk him through all the different scenes, help to explain it, or do you just kind of leave it for him and then skedaddle out of there?
I want this play perfect. I'm gonna sit down with him to review it and make sure that it's all spiffy perfect, and also get his opinions on it.
Yeah, you sit down, you review it, you kind of play act a few of the scenes. He he kind of takes the role of the merchants in Manifas. He quite enjoys it. He also likes. You can see that he really relishes when he gets down on all fours and pretends to be a wolf and outside of Port Sarum prison. Uh, but yeah, it seems like he is really into the work. You and Don managed to sell him hard on it the night before, and now he's too far invested to change his opinion. So while that is going on,
Yeah, that's it.
Alan,
That's all.
Al, as you cross the wide bridge over the River Doyne onto the Gilt Strand, you can tell instantly there's a different character here. All the people walking the street, very well dressed, save for one or two groups of very obvious tourists who are just kind of looking around in dumb wonder. The buildings here, all of them have these elaborate, high, peaked facades. Several of them have this very intricate kind of plaster work in an almost Rococo style, sort of fig leaves and angels and all sorts of things just built into the lintels of these high, stately structures. You pass what you see is the Scriveners Guild. You pass a tower, you pass a church, you come to where there's this sort of very old stone looking watchtower in the center of this kind of open square. And around that watchtower itself are these fountains, sort of uh, just kind of these stylized fish and rabbits that are all sort of spitting towards a central spot. It's beautiful. And as you turn north, you can see the actual sort of silhouette of the castle itself, Castle Ardignus, you can see. And I was going to change the card. Or maybe I'm not. How you doing? But yeah, you can see sort of hear the sound of these large ships coming into the royal harbor. As you walk closer to Castle Ardignus, can see its tall walls that are all covered in sort of different liveries. Several of them are either the flag of Ardoin or the crest of House Ardignus. Some of them you think are associated with the noble houses. As you ease around there, you can see that finally the city starts to get a little bit more sparse. You can see that there is more greenery. The cobblestone paths change uh, to paths of kind of almost reeds or these sort of well maintained wood straights as you pass through into a gardened, much greener, tree lined, uh, almost somewhat pastoral setting. This is the Watercut Banks. You can see that there are these gilded carriages pulled by reindeer kind of rattling down, going from these large kind of manor or country style townhouses that are each surrounded by by lawns or by trees before going into the next one. This is like the upper crust suburb of Ardoin. You finally spot the Proclaimers Union. It is a smaller place right next to the river itself. The trees kind of pull away. It's a brick building, kind of steepled, like maybe it was once a church, not overly large, but as you enter inside, it's got kind of a cavernous feel inside. There's a sort of metal chandelier with candles instead of the oil lanterns that you've kind of become used to here. You can see that there's several bookshelves. It's clean, it's tidy, it's well maintained, but it also has the look of something that is very much used, and that whoever is in here is definitely dedicated to their craft, to their discipline. And there's a small gnome, kind of balding, white hair sticking out of either sides, sort of half moon glasses, sitting at a desk as you enter into this somewhat dim space.
So this is the place then?
Yes, that it is.
Looks a bit different than I was expecting, but all right.
Oh, hello. Can I help you? Are you two new parents? Are you looking for a tutor? Uh, we offer several services. Usually, we have you contract with the tutors directly, though we also offer some sort of per diem agreements. Especially if you look like this is probably your first time at this, correct?
And Alcana just kind of looks awkward. No, we're not that.
Oh, all right. Um, are you scholars? Are you looking to join the Proclaimers Guild? I must warn you firsthand, we're not a chartered guild.
And Alcana just kind of looks at Alistair awkwardly, like this kind of line of questioning threw her off a bit.
Well, you see, my friend, we are well, traveling. I guess you could say scholars. Yes. My friend here is a very devoted, religious woman. See, and well, I had asked around the town to see where the best place was to learn about religion, the history of religions. That we were told was here.
You wanted to look at our registries. Well, yes, we do have certain records available for perusal. You know, it helps for us to keep sort of a standard of just the basic foundational information for public affairs, that sort of thing, especially since that changes so much. We don't want to be accused of bias. You know, we have a reputation to maintain. Uh, what sort of things specifically were you hoping to look up?
Well, there's this religion, see, that we had heard about, or more specifically, something that we had seen that represents a religion, and well, we just can't quite find out what it is, and that's kind of been bothering us.
Uh, yes, we have extensive papers on the religions most practiced in Ardoin. Do you want more demographic information, or do you want more basic overviews of the religion? We've got sections on the gods of the field, on the classical gods, and on cult figures.
The last one sounds more what we're looking for.
The gay rattling cult?
Cult figures, right. Oh, here we include some people regard them as gods. We tend to take a slightly more skeptical look to them, particularly followings that do not have conventional churches or conventional worship. Uh, there is Nani, the oh, I don't want to say that out loud. There is Thamud. There is let's see. There is Pomo the trickster, though we have had some internal debate over whether to regard that as a cult figure or regard that as a god of the field. Um, are any of these the ones that you were looking for?
Well,
Uh,
I don't know. See, what we saw was just a symbol. We didn't actually get the name of the thing. That's why we came here looking.
something like that, yes.
Can you describe the symbol to me?
Hmm.
And let's pretend that I described the symbol, because I don't remember what it looks like already.
Are you describing like the crow skull sort of thing, or are you describing like the two horn symbol?
The one that we just keep running into that Loki found on that poster.
Okay. So you describe that, and he sort of furrows his brow. He kind of gets out a paper, asks you to draw it, and when you do, he looks at it and he says, huh, "You know this looks very familiar to me. It's not on our god registry, but you see him kind of rush over to one of the bookshelves, kind of pull over this ladder, and he sort of just goes scurrying up to the top shelf, looks at one book, puts it back in, looks at another, put it back in. And you kind of worry every time he puts them back in because he does it with so quickly with such force that the ladder like almost rattles and it seems like he's nearly going to fall off. And this ladder is like 10 feet up. These bookshelves are pretty tall. But finally, after about 15 minutes, he pulls one out and says, "Oh, this is it. This is it." He kind of waddles down the ladder holding a book nearly as big as his torso, gets back to the desk, plops it down with a heavy thud. And he says, "Now, this is a very old survey. I'm sorry, I cannot allow you to handle this book directly. It's one of our older pieces, but this is actually an elvish survey of uh, the city of Zanash. And it's mainly a lot of drawings, a lot of just simple descriptions. However, one comes up here. He kind of flips to the middle of the book. It is they the author assumed that it was some sort of a bathhouse, but it's near the center of the city. And if you see right here, and he points you towards the very faded page, and you see indeed over the door of this kind of gabled building or gabled ruin, rather, because even in the drawing, you can tell that it's incomplete. There's a symbol very close to the one that you've seen.
Ah,
Huh.
and this symbol here in Zanash, what is its relevance exactly to the elves? Sorry, I'm not from around here.
Oh,
Neither am I.
well, that's just the thing about Zanash. It's still a big mystery to most of us. You know, it predates the elves. It even predates the gnomes. I'm not sure if you know too much about Kandran history, but the gnomes sort of settled this place before the elves did. And Zanash, well, it's older than both of those. The thing is, and he kind of flips from page to page and points out more illustrations to you. As you see, there are all sorts of odd symbols in Zanash. I mean, there's a small community of people living there, but for the most part, it's a ruin. Some of us have theorized that these are old gods that were, well, that just were wiped out in the Third Age, that all of their followings and all traces of them. The thing is, and this is a theory that I subscribe to myself, that before the Third Age, there were hundreds, maybe even thousands of gods that were worshipped on Gielinor. And after that, well, it's kind of one of the forces of war. You want to gravitate to whoever's the biggest force in the room, whoever you think has a chance of winning. And maybe because of that, or maybe because of directed campaigns, I'm not certain, but most of those gods just kind of died out.
Hmm.
As he's flipping through these pages, do any of the other symbols look familiar?
Uh, roll a roll a perception check.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, as he flips through them, none of them really catch your eye as anything you've seen before.
Can I kind of do the same thing?
Sure, sure.
Oh wow, that's really bad.
No.
Hmm. Interesting.
So you said that there's people living in this place, right?
Ah, yes, there is. There is. There's a community in Zanash.
Why? Don't they know that it's a big spooky mystery and all that?
Ah, well, you know, people will settle just about anywhere.
I see. So has anybody given it a proper exploration?
I mean, there have been various attempts to document it. There, and you know, you still have a lot of tourist groups going to the outskirts to see the pillars of Zanash. And I mean, if you've never seen them, they're they're definitely a sight to see. Um, you know, I've heard that the College of Astrology at Firin actually is sort of the leading researcher on the history of Zanash. But even then, we have a couple of members who are alumni, and they well haven't given us any more illumination than this tome has.
Okay then.
Does the person who wrote this for the Fear in College have a name, perchance?
The person who wrote this,
Well, this or the person at the college who apparently went and explored the place.
unfortunately, this tome, well, it's actually been bound a few times, and in the course of that, the name of the original Elven author has been lost. Uh, we do have a few members who are from alumni of Zanash. If you want their names, if you want to try to contact them about this.
Sure, I wouldn't hurt.
Yes, I guess so.
All right. We have Percival Stringer, human man. He's sort of one of our more severe tutors, though I guess you're not actually looking for a tutor. And let's see, Charlotte Arkwright.
I'm assuming
Hmm.
Alistair would probably find somewhere to write these names down. Yeah. Or just commit them to memory. Either or. Doesn't really matter.
Yes, and if you want to arrange a meeting with them, you can just do that through us. If you can leave an address where you can be contacted, and we will. And if you come back here, I'd say 3 days from now, that should be more than ample time for us to get in contact with them and arrange something where all four of you can meet.
Hmm. That's an interesting prospect indeed.
I agree. I think we'd like to set up a meeting. When should we come back here?
As I said, 3 days from now should be sufficient time. Neither of them are in long-term contracts right now, so that should it should work out pretty nicely.
Thank you very much. One question. Where would be a
Yes,
good place to read up on some of the history of the coastal towns of Kandarin?
the history of the coastal towns of Kandarin. Hum. Well, if you, I'm not sure if either of you have any affiliation with a noble house. As far as I know, the best library in the city for local history is probably in the Amguedfa Museum, or maybe in the Tirafon Conservatory. Um, huh. There's, of course, the Ornata Athenaeum. That's here on the Gilt Strand, though that's more oriented towards magic. You know
Hmm.
what? I have a friend he's actually just arrived in town. Has not officially joined the guild yet, but well, he's looking for his first clients. If you'd be willing to pay him for at least a day of tutoring, he could probably help you. He's a bit of a history buff. You can find him at and you see him already writing down at Dylan Dora House in North March. Do you know where that is?
Yes.
Yes. His name is Lopi Verla.
Just asking. This is probably not going to be. But has Alistair ever heard any of these names before?
Um, they don't sound familiar to Alistair. Or well, go ahead and roll a history check.
Didn't think
Yeah,
so.
the people's names don't really sound familiar. Dylan Dora House, you've heard of vaguely. You know that it's a place where a lot of it's kind of like a gnomish boarding house. It's a place where a lot of the gnome tutors and the gnomes working, like the educated gnomes working in Ardoin, tend to live.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you so much for your help. It's more than I could ask for, certainly.
Oh, by the way, one more thing. Do you happen to know anywhere we could catch up on a more recent local history? Maybe past half decade or so.
Oh, well, um, you could always go to the town crier central. I know they tend to maintain local records, dispatches that they are given to put out.
Hmm. Is there anywhere around here? Because truth be told, I'm from the east. There's a lot of cities that keep records of newspapers.
Oh, you're looking for records of newspapers. All right. Well, we actually have a small collection of local newspapers ourselves. They don't go back quite that far, but we don't keep them any longer than a year, but that could possibly help.
May I see them?
Sure. And as he goes, you see he actually leaves through kind of a back room. Uh, are you looking specifically for the paper that your father worked for?
No, I think that he's just trying to look through the papers for information on a couple different things, like Vol, because Logie had asked about him. Probably just the general goings on of the kingdom, the past year, I guess. If and no, I think that's it.
Yeah. So he it you're waiting for about 5 minutes until you hear the sound of what sounds like something heavy just kind of scraping against stone, and it's kind of shh, shh. And eventually the door kind of slams open and you see him with this box that's about the same size as him, just kind of dragging it along the floor.
You could have asked for help if you're having trouble.
Oh, uh, uh, that's fine. Well, we don't actually, uh, we don't actually have. You understand that we have a certain standards. We don't want to allow non-guild members into the back rooms, and it goes without saying. If you want to go through these, you'll have to read them here, and I would request that you only pull out the papers one at a time so that we can be sure that they're filed back incorrectly. But this should contain all the issues of the Gilded Post for the last year.
That's fine by me.
Fantastic. Uh, and he kind of points out behind him. There are a couple of chairs. If I know it might be a little bit cramped to spread these out here, but if you can just go through them here and tell me when you're finished.
No problem.
So as you kind of begin just thumbing through these papers, you can see you've heard of this paper, the Gilded Post, that it's actually a newspaper. Literacy, you notice very quickly, literacy levels are much higher in the East than they are in the West. And newspapers, then in general, tend to cater mostly towards slightly more well to do readership. So this is a very kind of pro monarchy, pro nobility, a little bit anti hoi polloi, anti populism paper that seems to be kind of marketed towards the upper class of Kandarin and Ardoin more specifically. But as you flip through them, what specifically are you looking for, Alistair?
If that's the kind of paper it is, I think the Adrian Volt thing would be in there since he was apparently in a noble house.
All right. So you flip through back a number of months till you finally find the article in question. And it paints Adrian Vold as this sort of deranged usurper and con artist who managed to, by through a combination of threats and grifts and lies, somehow coerce the daughter of the head of the Judicators Guild and the recently made peer, Lord Hallgrive, into marrying him. And that not more than a year into their marriage did he, in some kind of a fit of jealous rage, go on a tear against uh, all of her family members. According to the paper, it's for some kind of a slight against him and his more common upbringing, but it mentions him uh, sort of going after killing Lord Hallgrive, slaying his wife, and slaying Matilda Hallgrive's three older siblings. And, you know, it doesn't go into grisly detail, but it's definitely written with strong condemnation of Adrian Vold. It's not just presenting it impartially or as impartially as you can present a murder. It's frequently alludes to his just kind of deranged and deviant character. And you go forward in another couple days, and it mentions that he was killed while resisting arrest when a troop of Knights of Ardoin attempted to take him in. There's an incidental thing in there about Matilda Hallgrive Vold uh, taking over her father's spot on the assemblage chevron.
Is there anything about um, Dr. Renier marrying into the Carnelian family?
So as you flip back, you are actually able to find a couple of articles that mention that. Actually, a number of them. However, it seems that the event itself took place more than a year ago. But yes, it mentions that the Lord and Lady Carnelian, sort of the heads of the house, having grown quite aged and feeble, sort of retired from their duties, and that their their daughter, whom it characterizes as a little bit of a free spirit and being someone who it seems to present as not being of the typical character that you would want that would be cherished in a young woman of a noble house, returned and took up their place and did marry Dr. Titus Carnelian, excuse me, Dr. Titus Renier, and after in the marriage, he ended up taking her name and becoming effectively the head of the Carnelian noble house.
Does it mention if she's a biological or adopted daughter by any chance?
You don't see anything indicating that she was adopted.
Fair enough. I think that's all from the papers, probably. Now I think he's just going to start
Yeah.
reading random.
I'd say also in the course of like looking specifically for information about uh, Dr. Renier, now Lord Carnelian, you would find that he's he ended up rising to the position of eminent counsel, which means he's the head of the Assembly's chevron, which has mostly taken over a lot of the duties of the king since Lathis retired from public life. Uh, you also find mention that he is the the principal headmaster of the Mourners College, and that he was instrumental in both creating a lot of new public works for Ardoin and employing a lot of people, and also seeing to the construction of the Temple of Healing in West Ardoin.
He kind of mumbles under his breath. I see the bastard alluded to. Um, are there any other subjects that any of the other characters have brought up that I'm forgetting, guys? Take them as that.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, I was looking up things for Loki, and then I was looking up things for Worsen. Is there anything else that anybody
Well,
character?
might be worth checking out if Wilkins Cauldron is actually if there's any mention of him as a real person, because, well, currently it seems to be an alias.
Yeah, I guess you'd look for that name too, just to see, since, last night was really fucking weird.
Um, roll an investigation check for me, Alistair. So, this is a much more difficult name to find. It's not one of the prominent ones. There aren't any articles about it. But as you look and pore over them, you do eventually see a very offhand mention in the sort of theater listings on one of the back pages. Uh, Something about a play that is it, at that same place at Baxall Playhouse, though not the same one. It's not The Glass Maze. Uh, it's instead titled A Romance of the East, but it is also credits Wilkin Cauldron as the writer and credits Adrian Vold as the producer. However, this dates to before the murder of the Hallgrive family.
It's of the East. Why does that name sound familiar?
Did you notice something when you're reading, Alistair? Oliver?
Yes, there seems to be a Romance of the East. It's the name of a play that was directed by our friend, or well, directed by the person we had heard about last night at the play.
Huh. Curious.
It also lists Mr. Adrian Vold as a producer. That's a name that I think I've seen somewhere before too.
Yeah, I think you're right. Interesting.
Well, I think now that's it for the papers.
All right. So you guys finally put the papers back, uh, sort of shove it back towards the gnomish clerk there. He says, well, I hope that you found everything you were looking for. And please, if you'll get in contact with my friend Lobi Verla, he'll be so ecstatic to have his first clients.
Yes, I suppose you will indeed.
And so, as you leave that place, you kind of come out into the sunlight, the verdant vistas of the watercut banks. What else are you guys doing with your day?
Well, honestly, I think that those 5 months in that dark hole have kind of just made Alistair feel, he just misses a lot of things, and he feels a little dumb, honestly. It's just, his mind just kind of went nowhere. Just kind of degressed, really. Regressed? That's the word.
Alistair, are you alright?
Well, after 5 months, spending 5 months on vacation, it's just, I guess, that my mind, feels a little. I can't hold all of this information like I used to be able to.
Yes, that is the kind of thing that would happen. I resemble that, though, for different reasons.
I honestly feel like I'm just forgetting stuff. Well, I mean, I remember what he said, what the papers said, but I feel like I've lost a few things too.
Yeah, I can see why you'd think that. You think of anything in particular that you might have lost?
My mind doesn't. It doesn't feel like it reacts to things as fast as it used to. There was a. He just kind of goes a little quieter as he talks. There was an incident as we were leaving the prison,
There was?
and I feel like that whole time I could have been doing more, or my body felt like it should have been able to do, but it couldn't anymore. To react to things that I used to be able to react to is just impossible.
I don't really know what to say to that, really.
I'm sure it's a problem I can solve. Oh, yeah, that's an obvious question. Was there any reference to Tyrus's death in those papers?
Oh, yes, there was. Yeah, it would be, a huge headline. You would have found that it mentions, like, kind of the earliest papers from here that you find, large news about big if huge, large if true, about the war in the West with the elves finally being over, of Tyrus triumphing, and of him averting this disastrous scheme that the elves of the West actually had planned to stage another invasion to enslave Kandarin and to, out of spite, kill all of those who occupied the site of Baxtorian's former castle. However, Tyrus managed to soundly rebuff them, soundly send them back over the mountains. However, in the final assault, according to eyewitnesses, he was slain by one of the champions of the elves. However, he did found a new garrison in the mountains of Galarpos that is still being constructed, and that most of his forces stayed on to either help build or to use as a staging ground from which they are considering a new venture into Harundri to help to deal with the sort of gnoll raids there. There's a brief mention explaining that gnolls are a semi humanoid race of dog like people.
Wait, you have gnolls?
We do now.
Well, yes, to answer your question, there was mention of Tyrus's death in the papers.
That was out of character, right?
Yeah.
Right then, back to the action.
Hey, what time is it by now? Because that probably took a while, right?
Yeah, that probably took a while. It's probably getting into late afternoon, or at least afternoon. However, something else has been happening, and not in the afternoon. Notrix and Dawn left far earlier, winding through the streets of North March into a kind of sparser part of town, a part that's not dominated by the same high spires, a little bit more, perhaps not exactly rural, but certainly more agrarian looking, on their way to a specific location. However, on the way, Don has once more found himself dozing off.
Don was asleep, and Don. Okay, Don has a dream. Okay, boys? Alright. And as the dream starts up, the environment is dark, aquatic, and quiet, only illuminated by a single light at the end of some sort of a long appendage that's in the middle of this point of view. The only sounds that could be heard around are the swimming of a large creature. For a while, there's only the sound of the deep ocean and paddling of fins that must have a large span until the eventually, while we see this large creature swimming, the bottom of the ocean floor approaches, and once it gets close enough, there's a sudden burst of the sound of a creature digging into rocky sand. The sand kicks up as our point of view comes to a standstill, and the sand settles as all that Don sees is a glowing, bright light. Some time passes, only a few minutes, until a small, unexpected fish swims up to the light. It stops in its tracks and stares at it for a bit, swimming around it, getting comfortable with it, until whoosh! An explosion of sound. The sound of sand scraping against scales, coupled with a crunch of a as the beast's point of view jumps out of the fish and crushes its bones. And with the crunch, Don wakes up. Ah! Whoa!
Donna, you're okay there. It seems like you fell asleep.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just had a really weird dream. Oh,
Huh.
Whew.
What what do fairies dream about?
uh, well, normally I have this weird reoccurring dream where, like, a sheep keeps like jumping over my bed. It's really weird. But
Huh.
I kind of dreamt of like, I think I was like a fish, but I was like a weird fish. It was weird. I don't know, man. I've been having a weird sleep schedule lately. It's
Yeah.
it's been a lot. Oh, okay.
Well, that does
Wait.
sound terrifying.
it was. But okay. Whew. Sorry. Wait, where are we right now? Where are the others?
Well, we're heading towards the zoo.
Oh yeah,
Yes, the others have gone to other places. I think Logie was posting something, and everyone else has gone to read books.
to the library.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Notrix, as you look back up to see where you're going, your attention is immediately diverted to what look like a couple of just regular guardsmen standing outside of this church that looks to be almost completely overgrown with vines, save for like little spots on the windows and the door. And they're both shouting out at what looks to be a nude man doing some sort of yoga or something, kind of doing these weird slow like tai chi gyrations on the roof of this church.
What on earth?
what?
Hey, we said you can't do that here. You're in full view of the public. It's indecent. We have laws. And this sort of nude man calls back down to them. Oh, well, you can arrest me if you want to, though you know technically this is outside of your jurisdiction. If you will look at your own public records, there is a line of the city territory right there in the middle of the street. I am not doing anything that is outside of the law of a private citizen. But you're in full view of the street! God damn it, get down from there!
Don like hits himself on the head a little bit. Am I still dreaming?
No, this is quite real. There is
What the hell?
a nude man on top of that building, or in that building.
What did I walk into?
Here. Here, watch this. Don goes invisible real fast. Alright.
Okay.
He flies up and he casts invisibility on the guy.
And yeah, instantly the two guards are like, "Whoa, what the hell? Where did he? Oh, God damn it! These Naniites, they're always up to some kind of bullshit." And you see them both kind of shaking their heads and eventually kind of walk off. And Don sort of hear the man. He says, "Oh, now this is not something that I did. Who's there?"
Boo! Did I scare him? Did I scare ya?
Do you do anything when you say boo, or do you just say boo?
I go invisible.
And he says, "Oh, my, a fairy, a guardian of the wilds. Well, you are most welcome here. Would you like to come inside?"
Normally, when naked people tell you to come inside their house, people say no. So I'm gonna pass on that one. But I just thought I'd give you a hand. What are you doing up here?
"Oh, I am simply practicing the tenets of my fate." Notrix, outside at ground level, you can see that there is actually a placard that you almost didn't notice at first because it is sort of almost totally covered by vines, but it has a symbol on it that looks an awful lot like this.
Uh-huh. And does Notrix recognize this symbol? Because I know I recognize it out of character, but does Notrix know about it in character?
Roll a history check with advantage.
I want to fucking die. I love that symbol.
I guess he did see that Nani Druid in time skip we just did. Let's see.
Oh my god. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah. I'll say that
history?
you realize, Notrix, that this is a temple of Nani.
Okay. Was there any way I can make my way up there to them, or are they're on top? They're up high, are they?
Yeah, as far as you saw, the man just disappeared, and then couple minutes later, Dawn reappeared, but the man still seems to not be there. though as you approach, you can clearly tell that like the large sort of wooden front door it's actually ajar slightly, as you might expect for a church.
Okay. I'll take a peek inside.
Take a peek inside, and you can see that these vines that are almost completely covering it, they don't just extend to the outside. On the inside, there is actually like some kind of shade ivy growing along the walls, and it looks like it was once a different sort of church. You can actually see a couple of like symbols of Saradomin that are part of the walls that have been partially covered up. And there are no pews in there. Instead, you see that there are several like low divans and several like small pools of water, almost like bird baths. And there's no altar either. But you see a couple of people just sort of sitting on one of these. They seem to kind of be sipping from the same very large cup of tea. And one of them is wearing these like just layers of diaphanous cloth that you don't recognize the person, but you recognize the attire. You recognize it as being something that those Nani druids who you encountered a month or so ago would wear when they were outside, when they were more casual.
Hmm. I think.
So
And you see, actually, at the center of this church, there is this figure, kind of arms outstretched, and it's very impressionistic. It's almost like the Academy Award, like an Oscar, a little bit of a deco sort of thing, and it's completely smooth, except for it has three very prominent bulges, two at the chest and one at the crotch.
Okay. I think after having a quick look in there, Notrix decides that he wants to go see what Don is up to, and yeah, I'm just gonna go cloud mode and go up because that's my best way of going up to high. Go where Don is.
yeah, we're fine, buddies.
Yeah. Don, you look behind the just invisible figure to whom you're speaking and see just sort of a familiar vapor creeping up the edge of this building.
Oh, and this is Natrix.
Notrix falls back into a person and doesn't see anyone here. Don, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking to him. I turned him invisible, and I'm keeping him invisible for reasons.
Oh,
Keeping him invisible?
Hell yeah.
All right. He says, "Oh, well, this is a slightly awkward situation, but yes. What was the name again?"
My name is Don. Don Welch.
Don.
yes, and
And
I'm Notrix.
Don and Notrix, a deep pleasure to meet you. May you find freedom and grace in Nani. My name is Pierce Stanier. I am the Reverend here.
I can tell you're real deep into the
Real
religion, ain't
reverent?
you? Sure, that's the way to put it.
Oh, well, I do my best. You know, we are one of the fastest growing religions in Kandarin.
You know, I don't deny that.
So you just set up shop here in this old Saradominus church?
Oh, well, yes. Where else?
Does Don know about Nani the fuck god?
Uh, roll a history check, Don, but it's going to be a pretty high DC for you.
Yeah.
No, you don't know about Nani.
Wait, so what's your religion? You're not Sardominist, are you?
Oh,
Are there
no.
changes? Okay.
You know, there are a lot of misconceptions about Nani. People think that all we do is engage in orgies or do depraved acts. You know, we are a church that embraces all of the natural world, the entire breadth of human experience, of sapient experience, not just human. I should think that as a fairy, that should appeal to you very greatly.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
No, we prioritize peace. We prioritize harmony with our place in the cosmos. And it seems unfortunate that the powers that be in Ardoin don't sympathize with that.
Yeah, it looks like the gods aren't very happy with your practices.
Yeah, so I guess
The one year
people usually get annoyed when there's public nudity. I think.
I feel like you guys gotta like, if you guys want to be accepted by society and stuff, you gotta like ease your way into it.
Oh, you will find we have many very devoted congregants.
But well, what
People
I
should
mean is
not
like,
be. But why should people be ashamed of their bodies? Saradominus, they are so scandalized at even the thought of nudity. Yet if Saradomin, if we are in Saradomin's image, then should these not be something of beauty?
I mean,
Why are people so terrified of the human body? There's nothing lewd or obscene about it.
yeah, I guess you got a point,
Hey, he does have a
but
point.
he does have a point. There's no
I
reason
mean,
to
do
be,
the animals of the
told.
field feel shame? Why should we?
That's a good point.
Well, from a practical standpoint, animals usually have a lot of fur, while humans don't. Is it quite cold
What about pigs,
sometimes?
though?
Oh, well, of course I will wear layers if I'm cold, but part of my discipline in the ways of Nani is training my body and mind to fluctuate with the seasons, to live in harmony with nature, to know how to be comfortable in any environment. For truly, it is all a part of the natural whole.
How many degrees is it outside right now?
It's it's a little bit nippy, but it's not really that cold. Actually, it's pretty comfortable right now.
All right. Yeah, pretty nippy, yeah. All right. Well, Don says, you know, uh, there, it, there are a few ways to get people to, uh, warm up. Maybe talking first. Maybe getting the idea into people's heads first
Oh, I
before,
know what you're
right?
talking about, and let me set the record straight right away.
Uh huh.
That is only for consenting adult members who wish to partake fully in all of the experiences of Nani. Understand that we don't have orgies on the main congregational floor. No, those are all for the separate side worship rooms.
Yeah, right. Like the first time you walk in, you probably won't see like a giant orgy. Like that
Exactly.
probably like turn people away a little bit. They
Yeah,
gotta get
probably.
used, right? But yeah,
Yes.
but anyways, me and Natrix here were gonna go to the zoo, but if you know, I don't know. Yeah, bye.
Well,
Oh, well, it's such a pleasure talking to the two of you. Nautrix Dawn, I would encourage you. Now, the zoo is a wonderful institution. However, it takes animals outside of their natural realm, it takes them outside of their natural place. Enjoy
No,
yourselves there, but I pray when you come back, stop by. We'll be having a service later on. Perhaps you could learn something. You know, Nani is not a jealous god. You could be partners with as many gods as you want with Nani.
hmm. Well,
real open-minded of her.
we definitely take your advice in regards to the zoo. It, I always like to see exotic animals, but yes, it has crossed my mind that it might not be as pleasant as seeing wild ones.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
But yeah, we'll drop by later on.
yes,
Maybe we'll bring some friends.
You speak
Oh,
a
I
lot
will
about
be
nature.
looking forward to it. Indeed, that is one of our highest aspirations.
Oh, I think it might be interesting to see this sermon later on then, Don.
Yeah, why not? I'd be down.
Very well, I hope to see you soon. And, Dawn, would you mind restoring my form?
Right here?
I mean, he's obviously very comfortable.
Yeah,
He
I mean,
doesn't need to
who am
hide
I?
anything.
Who am I to, stop him? I uninvisible him and keep my eyes on his eyes.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, it was just lovely meeting the both of you. I do hope to see both of you very soon.
See you around.
Right?
Yeah. So do you guys continue the rest of the way towards the zoo itself? And you can see that there's a large sign over it. It's the Ardoin Zoological Menagerie. And it is, even from the front, there's a small gate in the front of it, but you kind of pass part of the way in before you even sort of approach any gates. You can see that it's arranged as sort of almost like these rings of concentric circles. Even from the outskirts, there's this large grand pavilion uh, visible at the center. It has these very heavily carved single pieces of what look like redwood, making this sort of elaborate wood lattice over it. And that arranged all around it are the cages, all sort of facing inward. The site itself is, as you approach the grounds, the city seems to fall away as it's surrounded by these tall evergreen pines that kind of act as a natural barrier. Though to the south, it seems to almost lie in the shadow of these hills that rise up, kind of dividing part of North March from the rest of the city. Uh, See, there's a gate, there's a ticket taker. Um, the admission here is 1 gold apiece.
Hey, I could probably hide in your cloak or something and get him for free.
I mean, it's only a gold.
Eh, maybe you're right.
If
And
you really want to do that, I guess you can.
well, I kind of look forward. Are they giving people like wristbands and stuff like that?
No, nothing like that. It's sort of just, there's someone taking the money, opening the gate, people go in.
Okay. In that case, you know what? I think I should sneak in. I think it's bad up. It's just, I've been giving, I still owe Worsen like a lot of money, and uh, yeah, a little stingy. I know. I admit it.
Well, I guess you could just be visible or what have you.
Yeah, and I go invisible again.
Yeah, and it's very easy. The sort of ticket taker here is not enormously invested, is a little bit bored. So it's no problem to get through. You pay your gold, Notrix, you enter into the space, and you can see that, yeah, there are all sorts of cages oriented around. Yeah, as I said, just the center pavilion. There are zookeepers walking along, several of them in these sort of beigeish colors and wearing these pith helmets on their heads. Which seems kind of a lot more to create a certain ethos than it is anything practical. See a lot of young families walking around pointing at the different animals in cages. You see uh, what looks like a large cat. You're not sure exactly what kind. You see that there's a bear in one cage. Though there's also a large sign as you get closer to the center of it, notifying everyone at the Grand Pavilion that all performances have been postponed until further notice uh, due to the escape of several animals.
Huh.
Some animals got out.
And looking around the circle, are there any cages which are very obviously empty,
Empty.
like they have escaped?
So, as you kind of wander around examining all the cages, you see that there are a couple of them that are empty, where parts of the bars actually seem to have been somehow removed or broken. You're not sure. Uh, One that's kind of to the north of the center pavilion, and then another uh, sort of a whole series of cages, or well, two sets of cages next to this other smaller building that are together. And you notice that these cages, one of them seems to be unnaturally hot, somehow replicating a desert environment. You see that there's sand in there, and one of them is unnaturally cold. You're not sure how, but there's like just a large block of ice dominating most of that particular cage.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Do they have any names, like any labels?
Yeah, you look at the signs for them. You see one of these housed the camels, and the other one housed the penguins. And you see that these cages, they're very close together in the same cluster. You see that there's also another non-broken cage that's also oddly icy, that has a couple of these large cats. You read the sign, saber-toothed cat. And there's another cage next to it. This one doesn't have anything odd environmental going on, but it's also empty. Though on this one, the bars don't seem to be broken in any way.
Well, what did that?
Hmm. Says the camels and penguins escaped. It seems.
Maybe someone really liked camels and penguins.
Well, I don't see how the animals could have removed the bars.
You sort of see a gnome wearing one of these pith helmets approach you. He says, "Oh, sorry, folks. I really hope that you didn't come here today specifically to see the penguins. Horrible business, all that. We're still not sure how it happened."
You don't know what made him escape?
Well, we're still trying to figure it out. I mean, we lost the penguins, we lost the cyclopes, we lost the camels, we even lost the thingammy what. You know, the camels are the ones that I really. Oh, I love those camels. We did so much work to make the enclosure to keep it, magically climate controlled. And now I don't know where they are. I hope they're safe, wherever it is that they escaped to.
Uh, excuse me, but did you say you had cyclopes here?
Yes. Well, we had a couple of them, and unfortunately, they're one of the exhibits that escaped.
Aren't pardon my ignorance, but aren't cyclops people? Is that not something that would be in a zoo?
Aren't aren't they what?
Well,
They're like giant people, aren't they?
yes, that sound cyclops. It sounds like awful like keeping a person.
No. I mean, they might be shaped kind of the same as a human being, or a. And his eyes kind of furrow at dawn. You see him kind of mentally file something. As human beings or gnomes, but they're they have no conscious thought. Believe me.
I know him. He like raises his eyebrow, but like just rolls his eyes and says, "Well, if you say so." But those things are big. Maybe the Cyclops did it. I'm sure that thing could rip apart some metal, right?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, we have some very powerful exhibits here. I mean, we have some giant scorpions. You should see what they are able to do with their pincers. These are greatly reinforced bars. I still don't know how they managed to get past them.
Well, it's good that only those guys got out, and not the entire zoo.
Yes, it seems quite shocking that they managed to. Well, this is a city, isn't it? How did they manage to get away unnoticed as such?
Oh, well, I mean, we are at the sort of at the northern end of the city. If they manage to slip through the pine trees and out into the hills, I mean, especially at night, well, they could probably put a fair bit of distance between here and between wherever they escape to.
And uh, when did this happen?
Oh, this happened a few days ago. Actually, I guess close to a week now. We're still searching. No clues.
Well, hey, if we see something, we'll keep our eye out, okay?
Ah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we used to keep the thingamy what right in this cage right here. And you see him gesturing to the cage, sort of within the complex of oddly climate controlled cages, the one that's not climate controlled. I just don't know how one of those would ever get out on their own.
Does Notrix know what a thingamawat is? I suppose I can just ask, but
Yeah, you don't know what a thingamy what is.
have you heard of it at all? Or
You can roll a history check if you want, but it's probably going to still be a no.
I'll just say no. So I'll just ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
What is
I
a
don't know.
what is a thingamawat? I haven't heard of that creature.
Oh. No, a thingamy what?
I
Right?
don't know.
A thingamy what? He looks from one of you to the other.
A thing?
It's like
A what?
twice as long as me, and its fur is about the same color as my hair. Um, it's got these teeth. They're like about as long as my hand span. A thingamy what?
Well, maybe that tore apart the metal. It sounds giant.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I'm not even sure how it got out. The bars on the thingamywhat's cage are still intact.
Is
Huh.
is there a reason why it's amongst all the obviously magical cages? All the heated ones.
I mean, it's just where we keep it.
Ah, well, never mind then. I was just wondering.
Huh.
Huh.
Well, we'll keep our eye out for it.
Oh, well, thank you, too. I don't expect you to find anything, but I do hope you enjoy your stay here. And again, sorry about this. Sorry about the lack of penguins. Sorry about the lack of performances. Without Cyclops, you can hardly put on a Cyclops Owlbear wrestling match, can ya?
It's fine.
Well, I'm sad we missed it. Notrix says, not being sincere.
Wait a minute. Real fast. Do you guys happen to have a gray-toothed tiger?
Actually, we do. It's one of our newer exhibits, but we do have a gray tiger. Yes.
It's newer?
Yes.
Where is it?
Oh, you should be able to find it over on the east side of the zoo. It should be one of the farthest cages from the central pavilion.
I look at Notrix.
Do you also have monkeys?
We have some monkeys, yes, of course.
Oh. I kind of want to see some monkeys. But Donna, you're interested in this tiger?
Yeah. Remember?
Yes. I don't.
The tiger, like the one that I was trying to look for on the Aloe Juniper. But
Well,
that's the same one.
the chances of that, I think, are low.
They're low, but my hopes are very high, and I want to fly away. I'm gonna be on the east side.
Okay.
All right. So you flit towards, wending through these groups of people, several of them, their heads turning to watch you, towards these complex of cages. And here, you can see that a few of the cages well, actually, a number of them don't actually have placards on them yet explaining the animals. They seem to just be sort of holding areas. You see, there's another one of these zookeepers, kind of this middle-aged blonde guy with a little bit of a gut, just tossing some meat into this cage where you see an eastern gray tiger.
Does it have any scars?
You look at it, you don't see the scars in the place where you knew the other one that you coerced had them.
Aw. He kind of like deflates a little bit. I thought it was gonna be my
Yeah.
buddy. I have my hopes real high.
Yeah, the
Too
zookeeper
high.
seems to finish tossing the last of the hunks of meat towards the tiger, who's just now sort of chowing down on him, and leaves the cage, sort of flashing you a puzzled look as he does.
I'm just gonna leave and try to find Natrix.
So, Nautrix, you by this time have managed to find the monkey house, which, unlike a lot of the cages, is fully covered around the top as well. It just has all these sort of little spider monkeys, raising a ruckus and jumping from place to place.
And well, whenever Notrix's hand brushes against the staff, I imagine the cries turn to a bunch of yes, yes, no, no cries.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I think I'm going to cast Speak with Animals because it's going to be fun or interesting or both.
Yeah. You start to cast this, and you sort of hear them. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah! Look at me! Look at me! Look at me! Look at me! Look at what I can do! And he kind of just, jumps from one bar to the other, and kind of does a little flip as it is, and you see, hear the other monkeys as they cry out, "Oh, that's not too bad! Oh, that was sucks! That really sucked!"
Okay. Well, I want to try and find one of the monkeys on the edges, which isn't engaged as much in this excitement, and just try and get his attention by going, "Hey, hey, hey, monkey!"
Oh! You see this monkey who is kind of half asleep, and the crook of one of these dead trees that's been put in here kind of looks up at you.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? What are you talking about?
Just wondering, like, what's it like being a monkey in a zoo? Or
What's a zoo?
this place is a zoo. Yeah, the cages and the people looking in at you.
Oh, it sucks. Don't like it.
No, that's understandable.
Used to be in a jungle.
Ah,
Now we put
jungle.
us in a big thing. There's a wet thing under us for a long time. Then we come here. I like being in the jungle.
Listen, I was just curious. Recently, a couple of days ago, a bunch of animals escaped from this place. Did any of you or your friends see anything about that? Did you see them escaping?
Ooh. Yeah. I saw. It was real bright. Flash of things. Big flashes. And then I hear a bunch of them and they make a lot of noise. More noise than usual. And then I see them run off. It's nighttime. A lot more exciting than the last time they escaped.
The last time they've escaped multiple times.
Well, it was only one of them that time. This time it was a whole bunch.
Only one of them. Did that one ever come back? Was it ever noticed it was missing?
No.
Huh. Well, that's certainly curious. Oh, do you know what? Do you know what direction they went off running?
Mm, that way. And it kind of points its little monkey hand, and it seems to be kind of a northeast.
Yeah, so away from the city. That makes sense. Well, hmm. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything I can do to help you in there. I'd very much like to, but well,
Uh,
I think if I let
got
you
any
all,
food? Food they
food.
give us sucks.
Oh, what did they give you?
Ah, it's dry, and it's bland, and it fills you up real fast. You got berries, or nuts, or banana.
I can get some berries, and I guess can I cast
Ooh.
good berry?
Yeah, you cast good berry, and 10 berries just appear in your palm.
Yeah. I pass in the berries, but don't eat all of them.
And as soon as they're within reach, his little furry arms just scoop them up real fast. And then he kind of darts away from you and like to a corner of the cage where the other monkeys won't notice him, which of course immediately gets a bunch of them to sort of look in his direction. And you hear a couple of them like jumping down, saying, "Oh, give me some of them! Give me some of them!"
Um, I might. Wait, can I cast good berry a second time, or did the berries disappear? No, they don't disappear.
I mean,
okay.
it seems like within a few seconds they've probably all eaten berries.
Okay, I'll cast good berry a second time and just scatter them across the whole. Try and destroy them over the
Oh
place.
yeah. You scatter them, and the monkeys go diving. However, this time you capture the attention of one of the zookeepers, and
Whoops.
sort of goes up to you and says, "Hey there! You're not supposed to feed the animals. We have them on very strict diets, okay?
Well, from what I've seen, what you're feeding them is some very high quality stuff. They look
We have
positively
them on
famished.
very specific, high nutrition diets. A layperson wouldn't understand. Please, no feeding the animals."
I'm not a layperson. I'm a druid, and I can tell that. Well, even if these diets are healthy for them, they're certainly not enjoying them.
All right, yeah, you might like going out into the forest and hugging a couple of trees, but I'm a zookeeper, okay? I think I know what I'm talking about. Don't feed the animals, please.
Fine, but you really should make an effort to keep them in more natural enclosures, though. It's not very comfortable for them here.
He kind of just looks at them and says, "Look at them. They're playing. Look at that. Have you ever seen a human being as happy as these ones? I don't think so."
Just because someone's happy some of the time doesn't mean they're happy all the time. They're playing now, but
Shouts of joy. I think they're having a great time. Hell, I wish I could have half as good a time as them half the time that they do. That's a quarter of the goodness. See, and that would be an improvement. These monkeys are fine.
suit yourself. I won't be feeding them, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And I guess Did that count as interaction? So the bottom paragraph here to maybe attempt to learn monkey form.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, I didn't obviously pet him because that would be really weird, given the circumstances of the conversation. So I guess it's just normal.
Yeah, but like its little hands graze yours a couple times.
Oh, so what, are you saying I could have advantage, or will I get advantage if I pet it for a minute? But I don't think I did that. Depending on the rules.
It's like for a minute. So no.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Cool. I'm gonna roll, and that's probably good enough. Yay!
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know how to be a monkey now.
Hooray! That might come up. Monkeys sound cool. They can climb and hold things.
Don, have you joined back up with Notrix by this point?
Hell yeah. I probably fly up. He looks a little disappointed. It wasn't my guy.
You shouldn't get your hopes up like that.
I know, it's
mean-
just ugh. I feel bad, you know? Part of me thinks I shouldn't be here because I'm a danger to these animals.
Just
Every
Just don't go-
animal I touch dies.
don't go
Don't get
making any impulse decisions. Like, I know I really wish I could just go over there and just bust out all these monkeys. But, well, what? That's an impulse decision. What happens then? They just all run out, maybe into the city, maybe into the forests. Half of them will get captured again. Other half might starve. You know, think through these things before you act.
Fine. But what? They look like they're having fun.
They're having fun, but they don't really like their accommodation.
They don't? Well, that sucks.
No, I mean, well, who would?
So, can you turn into a monkey now that you've like watched these guys for a little bit, or were you paying attention to a different animal?
No, I've looked at these monkeys, and I'm pretty sure I now know enough about them to become a monkey.
Really?
Yes,
Cool.
it's an
Uh,
imprecise science, but I think I've got it.
I think to myself, and I say, think I could give it a go. You just gotta like watch him for a little bit, right? Observe him.
Yeah, although that's a lot better if you actually interact with it in some way. But that might draw the eye of the zookeepers. Although I guess you're small enough to just go in there if you want.
Can I look to the side and see where the zookeeper is?
Yeah, you see the zookeeper is sort of not too far away, but he's not looking in your guys' direction. Seems to be just sort of standing around right now.
Is it possible to go like on the other side of the cage and like try to be out of his sight while talking to the monkeys?
Yeah, you can get into. Well, you can try to get into a better angle. However, the thing is, these cages, they're sort of like enclosed on three sides and bars on one side. So there's not really a good place to get out of his sight unless you're using like Notrix to block you.
Inatrix.
Mhm.
Stand right here.
Okay.
I should be good now. And I fly over, and I wanna like harass the monkey. Hey,
Are you like actually trying to get inside the cage?
no, I'm just gonna
No.
like,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'd like eat me or something.
Yeah. You call out to one of the monkeys sort of on the ground.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Oh wait, I'm gonna cast speak to animals, and then I'll ask again. Hey, buddy.
Oh, hey, you're small.
Hey, yeah, I'm small. In fact, like these spider monkeys, they're probably bigger than me, aren't they?
Maybe
is
close to the same size, maybe slightly bigger.
Yeah, I'm like
Hey.
you guys, but like,
They're small.
yeah.
They're on the other side of the bars. You're usually not small. How'd you get so
Yeah.
small?
Well, I'm small because I'm like a human, right? But I'm not. Kind of like you guys.
Ooh.
But yeah. Hey, high five.
And it kind of looks at your hand, uh, and it sort of holds up its own hand, looks at it a little bit, and very reluctantly puts it forward, not really understanding what's going on.
Like once he like touches my hand, I just go, "Good job! Here, have a berry." And I cast Good Berry, and then give him a little berry,
We might be overfeeding these monkeys.
maybe a little. But
And
that was
yeah, as you cast that, it does the same thing as the other one did. Sort of take the armful of berries and then dash off deeper into the cage.
Don, I'm not sure that it's really healthy to eat so many good berries at once. I mean, each one of those is like a full
Okay.
day's meal.
really. Ooh. Okay,
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
only one. I just wanted to have a good interaction with one of them, you know.
Yeah, a few of them kind of swarm around where he is, and then about a minute later, comes back to the bars. Kind of just looks at you, big eyes. He says, "Oh, can I have a? Can I have a?" And he just like pukes this sort of just milky puke, almost projectile out of his and right down the front of your new suit.
Ah! Damn it! No! Don's like immediately trying to like wipe it off. Ew! Ew! Hey, what was that for? Can you have looked away, buddy? You idiot!
Ooh, give me another berry.
No! Because you did this.
Give me another berry though.
All right. You want another berry?
Yeah, yeah.
Here, have 9.
Ooh.
I give him 9. I hope he pukes again. Piece of shit.
Yeah, he takes them and once more scurries off into the corner.
Don,
And,
what are you
yeah,
doing?
the other monkeys notice and start swarming around there.
Okay, Don. Are you finished looking at the monkeys now?
Yeah. He's pissed.
How does it feel, Don? How does it feel?
Fuck off! You're not in the scene. All right, do I have to roll animal handling now?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you'd get advantage.
That's okay.
Oh dear.
That's
Appropriate.
Yeah, as you try to concentrate on that monkey and its form, you see another one of them just kind of slowly approaches you. This one, its fur is a little bit reddish. Looks at you very closely with with big eyes. As it puts its head right up to the edge of the bars. This one pukes too and gets your sleeve.
Ah! I like fly away. Ah!
Notrix is just shaking his head a little bit at all this.
I didn't want to be a monkey anyways.
Yeah, Don. Don is just leading. Notrix is just leading Don away yeah, just leading him away by the shoulder if he can do that as such a small person.
So you kind of manage to calm Don down eventually. You go sort of from cage to cage, looking at the various exhibits here. You see the owl bears. You see they have different species of elk and reindeer. You see the owl bears, the rats. You see a couple of sort of like jackals and what looks like a large insect type creature that are supposed to come from the desert. Various creatures here at the zoo. But is there anything else specifically that you guys do with the rest of your time spent here at the Ardoin Zoological Menagerie?
Hmm.
Yes, we could spend time looking at other animals to learn them, maybe.
There is a ferret. I think. Well, I mean, depending on what God says, but in game there's a ferret. Is there a ferret exhibit if we look around?
Sure, why not?
okay, ferrets are like, not monkeys. I can do this, right? They're like my size.
Yes, just don't feed them over a week's worth of food in one sitting.
Okay, I won't. I fly up and I do I not have like speak to animals on my sheet? What the hell?
I mean, you should.
I
It's
could
a
do it now.
standard druid spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
at
can still
any
do it, I'm
rate,
sorry, but
yeah,
I
you
cast
go
it.
through that same rigmarole. You try to get one of the ferrets to talk to you. They seem to be a little bit less chaotic than the monkeys. And I'll say, if you want to, you even are able to get one of them to stay there long enough for you to kind of keep your hands on it for a while. So go ahead and roll an animal handling with advantage.
Yeah. No. Wait, is that okay?
I think 10 plus the beats challenge rating. Oh yeah, that's enough.
Yes.
Ferret time.
Okay, you ready? I think I got it. And then
Mhm.
he also use wild shape to turn into a ferret. And then he like squeaks
Oh,
and
that.
like is all excited and runs
Yeah.
around.
And as soon as that, one of the zookeepers, kind of this young one says, oh no, they're getting out again. How do you get out of the cage?" She runs over and tries to sweep you up. Dawn, do you try to evade her?
Yes.
All right, roll a shoot. What's the acrobatics of a ferret? I'm not sure, so just roll your own dexterity check.
Check. Wait, oh, okay. I guess 12. Oh no.
And she is going to go ahead and let's see. Do I want her to roll an animal handling? No, I'm not going to do that. And she tries to, go after you. However, you still manage to kind of evade her grasp and sort of dart around. How did this one even get out? Are the other ones getting out? You see her kind of call someone else over to check the cage.
Dawn
See it-
Dawn immediately starts to turn back into a fairy.
And as she sees this ferret turning into this small winged creature, she's like, "What? What the heck?
I'm not actually a ferret. I'm sorry.
Wait, is this?" And she calls out, John, is this one of our new exhibits? Have we got little winged things?"
Hey, I'm a fairy, all right, lady. I ain't no exhibit.
Wait, John, is this one of our new exhibits?
Ugh.
I didn't see anything about this.
Matrix
Oh,
help.
I don't. I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything about it. I don't know. I guess you better catch it just to be sure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yo, I'm not an exhibit. I'm a fairy. Look, I talk. You wouldn't lock up something that talks, would you?
Roll a persuasion check.
Okay.
Notrix is just fading into the background, just trying to be inconspicuous here.
Ew. Persuasion. Hold on. 13.
I'm going to roll this against charisma, which I'm going to consider her force of personality.
Hell
And
yeah.
she kind of just looks at it and furrows her brow and she says, yeah, I guess not. Wait, so you were the ferret?
Yeah, I was a ferret. I'm sorry. Like, I was just studying your ferrets so that I can learn how to turn into them. I'm the fairy of animals. Animal turning into. That's me.
Huh. This is gonna be the thingamy what all over again.
Ooh. What? What about the thing about what?
Nothing. You see her just kind of look confused and slightly defeated.
I squint at her. Hey, I have a question.
Yes?
What happened to the thingamabobby what? Like with the whole thing where all those animals got out, do you have any ideas?
I mean, we're not really sure. Just they got out in the night. We investigated it, and most of them that had escaped, their bars of their cages had somehow been severed, except for the thingamy what. But well, it apparently escaped too. At least it wasn't in its cage.
I shrug because I mean, well, can I roll insight? But I feel like it's kind of a waste of time because she doesn't sound like she's lying.
Uh, yeah, roll insight.
Even if she was lying, I can't tell.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know. She's telling you something, and as far as you can tell, you've got no reason to doubt her.
All right, true. All right, I just want to know. All right, well,
You haven't spotted the thingamy what, have you?
no.
Yeah, it's about like twice as long as me. It's got fur about the same color as my hair, and if you look, its teeth are scary. They're about
Like as long as
as
your
long as my
arm.
palm.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Someone else explained it to me, but you know, I just thought maybe you knew something else. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to have seen it anyway. Sorry for thinking you were an exhibit. Uh, enjoy the rest of your stay, I guess.
It's okay. I get that all the time.
So, the previous person who told us about the singing mutt was a gnome, right?
Right.
And what is this person?
This is a human woman.
Huh.
And they both said the thingy mutt is twice as long as them.
Yeah. I'd say you'd also notice that the gnome had kind of the light red hair, and this woman has hair that is a dark, it's just jet black.
Okay. Well, well, I want to investigate the singing mutt enclosure, because that's the strange one. It's not broken out of.
Yeah, you walk over to it. Um, go ahead and roll investigation.
Okay. Hey, good one. This
Yeah,
one.
you look at this exhibit, and yeah, you can tell surrounding it on all sides are exhibits that are either unnaturally cold or unnaturally warm. Some of them with their animals still in. This one doesn't have anything like that going on, and it actually seems very barren. You don't really see any particular items in there that seem to indicate creating an environment for a specific creature. It's just sort of a few rocks. In the bars, you examine them, they look completely intact. Uh, and the bars seem to have been sheared off somehow in the neighboring cages. As a matter of fact, if you as you look at the cage next to it, or sort of kitty corner from it, which is the penguin cage, as you look at those bars, you can see that the metal actually turns from this sort of steely gray to black at the top and the bottom on the parts of the bars where it's been broken, almost as if it was like the middle sections of these bars was melted off or something.
Well, monkey, talk about a flash. So, well, my next question was going to be: is there anything in the fingermut cage which indicates what kind of creature it is? But you've just answered that, and the answer's no. Here's an interesting idea. Well, are there any zookeepers about? First off, that might be annoyed if I do anything.
At this point, you don't see any zookeepers around. There's a small, like little enclosed bungalow that's pretty close to these cages, but you don't really see anyone's faces in the windows. You're not even sure if anyone's in it or not. But yeah, right now it looks like no one's watching you.
Okay. Well, Notrix is going to turn into a cat. I know, staple for Notrix. And
Notchy.
he's going to have a sniff around the edges of this thingy mop cage, because cats are one of the creatures which have advantage on smelling perception.
All right.
Just to see what he can pick up, if anything.
Perception with advantage.
Oh yes, I use my normal perception because that's wisdom, and I get to keep wisdom. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Crit.
damn. You sniff around. You're used to the certain sense of life, of sweat, of refuse, of saliva, of all sorts of things. You know, even in a human settlement where those scents are more taboo, there's plenty of that. Sniff around the edges of this cage. No creature, at least no living creature that you've ever encountered, has been in this cage for a very long time. Definitely more than a week.
Oh.
Wait, did I say human creature?
You mentioned humans.
Well, yeah,
I
but
think.
no, yeah, no living creature that you're familiar with that you can even consider would be this clean as to leave no scent has been in here for quite a long time.
Hmm. I guess with that roll, can I also look at have a briefer look at the surrounding cages, just to see if there's anything about that. Just a sniff.
Yeah, you go to like outside of the penguin cage, which seems to be the closest one. Sniff around, definitely catch like a burnt smell, but it's definitely the burnt smell of the metal itself. It's you don't catch the scent of any other incendiary, you don't catch the scent of any sort of oil or any sort of coal or anything else. It seemed like the only thing that burned here was the metal of the bars, at least from the lingering charred scent.
Hmm. Um. Yeah, I don't think I can think of any other questions I'd ask regarding the smells. I think you maybe ask if there's been any weird humans here, but it's a public area, so that doesn't really make sense. Okay. I will revert from cat form with this investigation complete and try and meet up with Don again.
All right. Yeah, you and Don pretty easily managed to meet up again.
Thanks for dissing me, by the way.
What? Look, I just went over about thinking through the consequences of your actions before you do them. And then you went
I
ahead
could have
and
been
did that.
locked up, okay? What? I
I
just wanted to try it out, and I did it.
I don't really care if you got locked up. I had every confidence that you'd be able to escape if that happened.
Well, yeah, but it'd be inconvenient, okay?
It might be an object lesson. Anyway, this thingamot is really weird.
Yeah.
I had a look
Really?
around the cages and, well, there hasn't been an animal in that cage for a long time. A very long time, in fact.
I mean, didn't everyone's been saying that it was gone for a good, week, right?
Oh, longer than a week.
You think so?
Oh, yes. It didn't smell like there'd been a creature there for, well, any time in recent memory, maybe.
How good is your Are you sure your nose isn't kind of clogged up by me? And I kind of point at my tuxedo, with, like puke all over it.
No, I'm very, very certain that that was some of the best sniffing I've ever done.
Well, I mean, why would the gnome lie? And that human back there said the same thing. Wait, she did say that, right?
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah, she gave almost the same description as the gnome.
They said the same thing. And they're describing two completely different creatures.
What do you mean? Well, the gnome said like things like it's got like claws the size of my arm, and then she said it was the size of. Wait, did he say his arm or her or
They
my
said
arm?
the same thing. So it's a creature that is twice the size of both of them and with the same colour hair of both of them. And they're two people with very different heights and very different hair colours.
Oh, wait, you're right. That means one of them is lying.
Or they're both wrong.
What makes you say that?
Well, as I said, there hasn't been a creature in there for a very long time. I'm not actually sure this thing in what actually exists.
Do you think they're both just, I don't know, if not lying, then high on something?
Well, actually,
Is there a whole gill out here?
that might be an explanation. Actually, I was wondering why they would be imagining fake creatures, but drugs might play a role in that, I suppose.
I
But
see this
yes.
job getting a little boring.
Well, aside from that, the penguins are gone. This cage is melted.
Melted.
Yeah, I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
really think of a way to figure out if anyone had come by and let them out or like that. Yes, I didn't think so many people walk by here that it probably wouldn't be any information about that. But
It's kind of weird.
it is rather weird.
Yeah. I
And
wonder.
Well, I was going to say all those animals escaped to the northeast, out of the city. Although I wonder how if they got past the border fence that we saw. Wait, is the zoo outside of the border fence that the towers were guarding?
It seems like it's just about at the very edge of the city, though the fence itself, where it would be, is completely obscured by just sort of this dense layer of pine trees, of evergreens.
And
So there wouldn't really be any Ardoin guards in the way of like their freedom.
There's definitely, a lot more cover here, if you were trying to go over the fence than there would be closer to the gate.
Well, maybe they had a better time with all the trees, you know?
yes, the fence looked very climbable, but well, But surely the guard would have seen something.
That's what I
They
would
were,
think.
they were having a pretty close watch on the entire wall.
Thing is, if the gnome's right and it's 2 times his size, then maybe not. But if the human's right and it's 2 times her size, then yeah, that'd be pretty weird.
Well, I'm not sure the theme actually plays a part into the escape. I was more thinking the other animals.
Which animal?
The camels, the penguins, and the cyclops.
Yeah. Yeah, how's a camel supposed to climb a
Actually,
fence?
that is a very good point. How is a camel supposed to climb a fence?
Or a penguin, for that matter. They can't fly,
A
right?
penguin might manage to squeeze through it, but a camel up there?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Huh.
What if they never
That
left the
is-
city at all?
That's a good question. You want to go camel hunting?
I think we should go camel hunting.
That's
Maybe.
a good idea.
Although we don't want to miss that sermon, because that sounds
Oh,
interesting.
that's right.
But maybe we can do a bit of camel hunting.
I didn't think that I was gonna have to choose between camel hunting and going to a naked god sermon today.
You know, when I
But
woke
here we
up
are.
this morning, I didn't think that either.
And as you guys reflect on the odd turn that things have taken, let's go ahead and take a break.
Yay!
And Dalkana, as you are starting to walk back through the green depths of the water-cut banks, past the sparse crowds of very well-dressed, well-to-do people enjoying this pocket of greenery, of nature, in the midst of this urban setting, you can see that the sun has gotten a bit lower, stretching into the golden part of the afternoon. But part of it is marred by the clouds of smoke still rising from West Ardoin that you notice now that you're here in the Royal Ward seem to almost start to drift east, but then are stopped as if by a giant invisible wall right near the edge of the river, not too far from where you are. However, as you walk back towards the main city itself, what are you guys doing?
That is a very good question, indeed.
You know, I just had a thought, and I guess Alistair would. This probably might be. Well, it would be okay to bring it up, I guess, given everybody else is going and doing their own thing. Alistair and Alcana never really talked about what she did over the past 5 months.
No, I didn't. So maybe they can kind of find like a quiet spot to just go ahead and chat.
Or do it while they're walking, one or the other. Depending on
Mhm.
how late it is. You said it was like late afternoon.
Yeah,
The
they're sort
others,
of golden hour.
the others are probably long since done with all their stuff.
Well, not Worsened. Worsened's probably only just now finishing up with all of his transcriptions.
Oh, wow. Okay. But Loki and the other two, whose names I just forgot.
Natrix and Dawn.
Them's the ones.
Them's the ones.
Yeah.
So as you guys sort of stroll, communicate in your minds, Alcana, are you fairly forthcoming with Alistair about where you've been the past 5 months, what you've seen?
Yes, she wouldn't really have any reason to hide it from him.
Yeah, Alistair, you learn a little bit more about Alcana's adventures, her what she saw back in Ashdale, her experience in Phasmatis, her trying experience at the funeral held for Master Shy. But as you sort of pierce through these things together, the afternoon continues on. Do you guys make any other goals for yourself on this day? Anywhere that you're going, or are you just looking to try to meet up with the others when you can?
Is the shopping district still roughly active at about this time, or is stuff
Oh,
kind
absolutely.
of closing up?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, as you go back across the bridge and approach the High Market, you can see, if anything, there's an odd flurry of activity. You see that several of these stalls seem to be even more geared up than they were earlier, and you see that they have put up like little flags and banners, some of them with the crest of Ardignus, some of them with that familiar like crow skull symbol that you've seen a few times. Some of these stalls have like people shouting out, hollering for what they're selling at them. Some of them even have performers of some site. Like you see more than one juggler in front of them. And you also spot several of these different guards, in addition to the Knights of Ardoin and the city guards. You see what you recognize, Alistair, as members of the Frith Guilds, of the League of Heroes or the Legends Guild. And you see them also wearing hats. And one of them in particular, this hat looks to be about half the height of himself, that he's actually supporting it with both hands. It's these layers of silk and felt and about a dozen feathers dyed different colors. And he is just glaring daggers at any of the other Frith Guild members, mercenaries, and guards around him.
Alistair just kind of blinks, looks at this guy like, what the hell is he doing?
I'm guessing that this isn't usual for this place, then.
It's been so long, I can't even remember anymore.
Well. And then she like temporarily switches to. She was saying that part out loud, but switches back to telepathic communication for this next bit. Well, what I wanted to look for today was something a little bit more unusual. Something that, well, I'm not sure that you can necessarily help me with specifically, given it's of a magical nature, but well, let's just say I've found myself come upon some, how shall we say, new arcane talents, and, well, I would rather like to get more of a sense for what they were so that I don't accidentally discover them in public like the last few times. And I believe that some kind of a focus would probably be nice for that, although, well, the holy symbol probably never. Well, that doesn't work for obvious reasons.
Obvious to you, maybe. But no, you're right. I probably wouldn't be able to tell you what you could find, but I could tell you where to find it.
Yes, where might I find something like that?
Where might she find something like that?
Could I get the description again of what you're looking for?
Okay, out of character, I'm looking for a spell focus.
I'm going to tell you straight up. You're probably not going to just go into a market square, even one as large as this, and easily find like, oh, Warlock spell focuses for sale, half off, buy one get one free.
Damn, I wanted
However,
myself.
you do know as you've meditated upon your new abilities, Alcana, you've sort of created small but ultimately trying, not quite, imperfect attempts at creating, say, these bolts of energy or at allowing yourself to mystically comprehend languages. And you know that if you could tap into certain specific reagents for them, that they could help you to channel this more effectively.
So let's
As
go
you-
looking for those reagents then.
Yes. As you are you, wearing your armor, as it were, right now?
I'm thinking that she'd probably be more in casual attire since she's really didn't really anticipate going out to fight anything today, or anticipate
Yeah.
getting into any trouble.
Yes. You're in casual attire, and you know that one of the items that you need is a bit of soot and salt. You realize that that would be very easy to come across, especially here. You're able to, go up to one of these sort of street side blacksmiths, get yourself a little pouch of just pure soot for free. The next thing you need, though, is a little trickier. I'd like you to go ahead and roll an investigation check with advantage.
Which one of us?
Alcana.
Me.
Do you know what it is that you need, Alcana?
Oh, yes, I know. I think I know what it is I need. It needs to be a branch or twig of some kind struck by lightning.
Indeed. So as you and Alistair go about inquiring after if anyone knows where to find one of these, you come up to one shopkeeper, and it doesn't take that long. He says, "Oh yes, I mean, I don't know for certain. However, when they first opened the vents to the west, it was horrible. I mean, the entire sky covered with these black clouds, and for a while, it was so dense. It was like a storm cloud, of, oh, I shudder to think of it, of crematory ash. I saw flashes within it, lightning. There was even a small fire north of West Ardoyne. I'd say if you want to find a tree struck by lightning, there's a significant chance you might find one there. Well, it's not really the kind of thing that I think anyone's going around hacking up and selling in the marketplace."
Oh, well, thank you anyway. I know it's a bit of an odd request, but
So, I'm sorry that I didn't have it to sell to you. Good luck.
all right then. And I'll kind of just looks at Alistair and shrugs.
Hey, do runes work for you? Do runes work for warlocks? I forget.
Where would I get runes?
Do you look for runes as part of that investigation?
I mean, I guess she could?
Yeah, so you look for knowledge of runes. You get the sense that there's you're not going to find them in the high market. Even here, the tower has enough of an influence. However, you hear snatches of something else, of two places where they might be provided. One of them is a place called the Pitch Market in Charnel Point. And Alistair, you've heard of this, even though you haven't spent a lot of time yourself. But it's it deals with the less clean industries of Ardoyne. pitch market literally because it originally dealt in producing and selling the pitch used to treat boats. However, there's also it's known for its tanning. It's known for its production of several different items. However, it's also, because it's less desirable, a little bit more uh, odoriferous, that there's been a small black market that's popped up within the walls of the pitch market itself. The second place where you may be able to get runes is a place called Tur Tor, which, as confusing a name as it is actually a tower loosely affiliated with the Wizard's Tower in Mistalin, dedicated to bringing a little bit piece of the rune mysteries here to Kandarin. However, you very quickly pick up that their reputation is for sort of shabby wizards who are maybe a little bit lackadaisical in their practices. And you get the sense that you could perhaps visit Tur Tor, which is in Westmarch, and convince someone to part with a few runes.
Rather not have to deal with that if I don't have to. Going to find this lightning struck tree it is.
All right. So, you end up going back across the river through the high, beauteous stretch of the Gilt Strand, seeing the beautiful, sophisticated people strolling this walkway. And you do notice, as you are making your way there, a number of gilded carts pulled by reindeer, some of them in elaborate livery, starting to make their way down this road coming from the east. However, as you pass that to the edge of the Gilt Strand, and then over the next bridge, you finally find your way, for the first time, into West Ardoyne proper, though not into the walled city. You can see the roads here are, they're not the polished white cobblestones of the rest of the town. They're sort of gravel mixed with the dust of the earth. Very simple, much more humble. The buildings here, not quite in as good repair, a little bit more run down. There are a few towers. As you head north from there, towards the walled city, towards where you know these odd smoke-induced lightning storms were, the first thing that dominates your vision is the smoke itself. The sky over a west stains a sickly, dull orange. But there are no cinders, there's no acrid aroma of burning wood, and it's much more clear that the smoke is blowing west from here, even though it doesn't seem like a windy day otherwise. You can see the outline of irregular spires, coarse with broken shingles that seem to almost cut divots in this cloud of black as it runs past. You see this 20-foot high wall coming into view, and parts of it, little pieces, are this elaborate stonework, these beautiful contours that you recognize as the handicraft of the elves, but much more of it is this very utilitarian kind of piecemeal granite. And at the top of it, these iron spikes, vicious looking, angled inwards, clearly to keep anyone trying to scale the wall from the inside from coming out. Surrounding that wall is a small, not really a forest, but definitely a buffer, a copse of trees that themselves are stained black with smoke, are leafless, that look like they're barely clinging to life.
Well, let's start looking for a lightning struck one then, I guess.
Yeah. Let's just go around asking these trees, hey, do you know any trees that have been struck by lightning? Or is Notrix when you need them?
Apparently off in the zoo, doing whatever to her.
Oh my god, I hope nothing bad happens.
It's Notrix. He'll be able to keep Dawn under control. Hopefully.
Even though you guys aren't in the city, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the card for Ardoin West because I like this card.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Wow.
And you can see kind of just the skyline past the walls of this place. You can see the tall, oppressive towers sort of looking down on you. See a couple of mourners going down the road. Their heads sort of turn to look at you, but they don't approach or anything. They keep going. One of them, wielding a staff, the standard beaked mask that you're used to, holding the leash of this dog with a leather muzzle completely covering its head. The other one, a figure that looks a little hunched, and it is wearing kind of a longer cloak than the fellow next to him. And the beak of his mask is just immense. It looks more like a pelican than anything. And as the black lenses of their masks kind of take you in, then turn around, can't help but feel that there's something slightly unsettling about these two. Maybe it's just that you can't see their eyes. But you pass out of view of them. Both of you roll investigation checks. Oh, there we are. uh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you kind of circle around the city, around these walls, and you do eventually, just north of the city, find a copse of trees where you can see that some of them actually have clearly burnt to the ground. And at the center of them, one tree that is preserved, a much larger one. It must have once been a beautiful oak, but now it's nearly split down the middle with and it bears the signs of charring. You can clearly tell as a sign of a tree that's been struck by lightning.
Well, there you have it. And she would probably then slowly go and approach it.
Yeah, you approach very easily, are able to break off a twig. It's brittle. You can see that you're also near a section of the wall that seems to be a longer, sort of intact section of what must have been the original wall of Baxtorian's palace. And you actually see at the top of it, there's sort of the natural top of the original wall, and then another couple feet of new brickwork and the iron that's been put on top of what the last time, or at least you can remember when you were younger, Alistair, was simply a ruin that partially encircled the city, more of a cultural landmark and not the symbol of oppression. And you can also see very close to here, you know, 24 investigation, that's pretty good. You can see this other large structure, a very much a new part of the skyline, shapeless, blocky, monolithic. But what strikes you, Alistair, as you look at it, is that this building that seems to be the largest thing, and at least on this edge of the city, just past the walls, looks like it's been constructed mostly, primarily, of Ashdale marble, which you can tell even underneath the layer of soot covering it.
Hmm? Is something wrong, Alistair?
Ashdale.
You're joking, right?
Look at the building.
And she would look at it.
Yeah, it's not immediately obvious because of the soot covering it, but when he points it out to you, you can see unmistakably it's Ashdale marble. It's not necessarily odd in and of itself. You've both seen other kind of well constructed, fancy places built of Ashdale marble, though it definitely carries a secondary connotation now.
Hmm. And that wasn't there before?
No.
Hmm. And Loki did say he was investigating something in the city. I mean, I think I might have gotten a little. My nerves might be, well, even worse than they were before, but one can't help but see patterns in these things, even if they aren't there.
So this building is within the confined part of the city, right?
Correct. Correct. So you're kind of just outside the walls with the dead trees surrounding it, and that is probably a block away from the wall on the inside of the city.
Alistair just turns back to the direction of the East Artois. Yeah, but it's not worth it. Let's go.
If you say so, and she just kind of glances back every now and again while following Alistair.
So you guys make your way back through this forest of dead trees, the tall towers looking down on you, eventually back across the bridge through the Gilt Strand and back into East Ardoin. At this point, it's getting into evening, earlyish evening. Uh, so I want to ask, in this time, this day, what has Logie been doing?
Okay. So I think Logie, he'll have posted his letter. I think I'm going to buy a spyglass.
A spyglass. Oh, let me check the price on that for you.
Ooh, so you don't have to make one out of random monkey weapons and drop it in the ocean.
Ooh. All right. Spyglasses are surprisingly expensive.
Oh dear.
They are 80 gold pieces.
What? Okay. Um. Never mind then. No spyglasses. But what Logie would like to do is he's going to keep an eye on his letter, see when it's being sent out, and he'd like to follow the post carriage or whatever to the Halgriv estate, preferably arriving before them, and just try to spy from afar, maybe atop a tree, to see what happens to the package, whether they take it in, whether it's like sent back or sent somewhere or something along those lines.
So you just wait to see, kind of keep an eye on them and see if there's just like wait around the post office and see how your letter gets processed.
Yeah.
All right. So you stick around there, just checking it out. You inquire with the clerk a couple times, annoying them. But keeping an eye out, watching it, you see that actually by the end of the day, when it's already starting to get into early evening, it seems like already several of the people have gone home. But finally, your letter gets processed, put into one of these canvas sacks, and loaded onto a small ox driven cart around the side. You see someone sort of snap the reins, and it starts trotting away from the high market towards the bridge that you assume is going towards, at least from what you heard of the address that you got from the clerk, towards the Watercut Banks.
Okay, I'd like to follow that carriage.
All right. You follow the carriage as it goes sort of through the Gilt Strand, through Crown Rise, and it's a bit difficult for you to keep up with this. This is still a cart, and you're still just a dwarf on foot. So I think I'm going to need you to make an athletics check for me to see if you're able to keep up with this cart.
Oh dear, this is where it all falls.
Yeah,
Aw, bro.
As you're just kind of galloping along on your stubby little legs, you get into the Gilt Strand. You follow it as it turns into Crown Rise, and then there's this other kind of crux of carts, much more well-to-do carts. You see that a few of them have the symbol of that like crow's skull on them. Some of them have like other crests painted onto the sides of them, these carriages, most of them pulled by reindeer, and kind of trying to push through these that are all kind of lining up outside the walls of the inner keep of the castle Ardignus. You eventually lose sight of the mail cart.
Oh, that's a shame, but I do know. Is it well known where the Hog River Estate is? Can I like find a map or find location now quickly?
I'd say that, because the clerk looked it up for you, that you have that information now.
Okay. I guess I'm going to. Let's see. I'd like to. Is it possible to hire? I almost said hire a horse, but that's impossible. Hire like a cart of my own, maybe.
Yes, it is. Let me see. For a coach, you want to hire it for to just take you this distance, or to actually like hire it out for the rest of the day?
Just to take me this distance, like just just drop me off just right near the estate, maybe a little bit out of the way, out of sight, and I assume that since the postman has deliveries to make, I'll make it there before him.
Yes. All right. So you're able to find, there are a few kind of ox drivers who seem to actually be renting themselves out as taxi services along this neighborhood. Flag one of them down, tell them the way to go. It's actually quite reasonable. It's only one silver piece to take you over into the watercut banks and drop you off. As you make this ride, you're eventually dropped off in front of this estate. All of the houses here are rather large, belong to guild masters, belong to nobles and their families. You see a manse that has this just stonework wall in front of it, and a small, kind of more of a portico than it is like a full-on gate. You can see through clearly, but embedded into the stone wall surrounding it is a this relief of kind of a stern male face, a bit jowly. And as you look at it, you see that it says, sorry, excuse me. It says, Benedict Halgrive, founder of the Judicators Guild and first advisor of Queen Candace Ardignus.
Okay.
Yeah, everything here seems very quiet, unlike the card and the noise that I'm playing right now.
Okay, so how densely, like how urban of an area is this? Like, are there lots of trees about? Like, is it like an open street, or is it more like a forest road with like houses peeking out?
It's sort of like these wending, sort of straight wood track roads, just sort of cut through this heavily forested area that's still mostly houses. It's kind of like a very affluent suburb. There are a lot of trees. There's a lot of cover if you want it, um, but it's still definitely a settled area. I'd compare it most to upstate New York, but I know that might not mean anything to you.
Well, I can Google it, so that's. Anyway, oh yeah, okay. So Logi is going to position himself near the road into the estate or the manse, whatever, like under a tree. And in the shadow of that tree, he's going to use his invocation to be invisible, waiting for the postman.
Very nice. Park yourself under a tree, invisible. You wait for another half hour till finally the postman arrives. It seems for you put together from that pretty much all of his deliveries must have been in this neighborhood. Uh, but it kind of goes up and there's a little bell, not actually that small, but a bell sort of hanging right outside that portico. He goes up, gives it a couple of tugs. After a minute, a servant, where you can clearly tell is a servant wearing sort of a almost like a fake naval uniform, comes up, opens the gate, and sort of nods to him. And you see that the postman actually has like a separate little sack just of mail for the Hallgrives that after exchanging a few words, he hands to the servant who sort of opens it, starts looking at it, just almost like pre-sorting it as the postman already kind of whips the reins of the ox and starts driving away.
All right. I guess I'm going to keep. What time is it right now?
It's early evening. It's maybe around 6 o'clock, maybe a little later.
Yeah, okay. I guess I'm going to keep an eye on this house for a while to see if there's any activity out of the ordinary.
Yeah, eventually the servant does kind of disappear back through the portico gate. Um, Something you also notice that maybe you noticed right at the start, but now that you've been here a while, is that there is a kind of larger gate around the side. Um, this one, not a portico, not one that you can see through a wooden gate. And eventually, you hear the sound of voices coming from somewhere within. Excuse me 1 second.
Yes, I hear the cat.
There's a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Meow.
Cat wants food.
Did you guys see that one meme where it was like when the cat walks up to the D&D board?
Yes.
I posted it.
Oh yeah.
I was about to say it was posted in here.
It was posted
Yes.
in here. That's why I saw it.
Yes, it was.
Yes, our meme
guys
channel
have
is the
the best
premier
memes.
location for D&D memes, obviously.
Very true.
Yes, it is.
I always feel really bad for Ron whenever like he's like mid like monologue and then all you hear is like little
Pay attention to me, human.
pay attention. Stop talking to your box dramatically.
Sorry, couldn't concentrate with my cat making all that noise.
It's okay.
So, like, just beyond the walls, there's sort of a courtyard, and you eventually hear voices coming from this courtyard, and you hear, you can kind of overhear them. One of them, a woman's voice, saying, "Oh, uh, but Gareth, you simply must speak to the Eminent Council. You know, you owe your position to me. I don't know why he won't pay me the respect I deserve." The other one, "Yes, of course, Matilda. I will speak to him. However, you know there is an order to these things. Besides, I think that Helwys is doing a very fine job. You understand, you never even passed the bar. "Oh, but it's mine. Everyone knows it's mine. Everyone knows I was supposed to get it. Very well. We'll speak later, all right?" And then you hear the sound of kind of a sort of a sort of the snort of what you've now come to recognize as a reindeer, a door opening, and then that wooden gate opening to the side, and you see another very elaborate carriage pulled by a reindeer sort of leave out the side of this courtyard, head down the road.
Hmm. You know what? I might be making a mistake here, but how big is this carriage?
The carriage, it's not extremely large. It's about the size you'd expect for a four-person carriage.
Right. How fast is it going?
Uh, well, depending on how quickly you're acting, it's definitely slow as this gate is opened and as it leaves the courtyard. Uh, if you're thinking of trying to catch a ride on the back of it, you might be able to.
Does it have like top or something that I can hide under?
Uh, Not really a tarp. It's sort of this painted wood, kind of a tasteful purplish color with some yellow accents. And there's a little bit of a, not a rack, but kind of a step in the back where you could potentially hold on.
Okay. Does it cast a shadow?
This time of night, yeah, it does.
Okay. Um. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to use Dimension Door, teleport onto a shadowy area of the carriage, and then immediately use my invocation to become invisible.
Oh my lord. All right. So as you see this carriage starting to turn off of the side and onto the road, you just, in an instant, poof out of where you were onto the back, go invisible. However, it's still a bit jarring to suddenly attach yourself onto this moving cart. I need you to make either a strength or dexterity saving throw. This isn't a very high DC, but I'm still going to need you to make it.
Do you want foresight? You want some foresight for that?
Are you using
I
foresight?
only have one.
Donate some. I think.
Yeah, as I said, you can donate some at any time.
I can get one from Shuriku if no one has a lot. They have spare.
Don has 0 foresight. Oh, I should have
Okada has
rolled
two.
the. I should have rolled the bosh table for Don. Damn it.
It's not like you could have gotten worse than what actually happened.
True.
All right, so are you you going to use some foresight or what?
Yeah. If I'm
Don?
getting foresight from anyone, I'm going to use 2 foresight to reroll because I only have
Yeah.
1 at the moment.
Connie
Yeah.
will
Well, as I said,
donate
you can
one.
re-roll or you can add to it.
Well,
I rolled
9 is such like I feel like DCs don't tend to be odd numbers, so I'm going to reroll if I get that foresight from Shiraku.
Yeah.
Connie will also donate if you need some.
Okay. Roll number 2.
You know what? I set the
Oh.
DC at 8.
Yeah!
Oh.
So, yeah, you just
Oh.
barely managed to kind of grip on white knuckled as this cart sort of rattles out down the street, and you can see sort of just the uh, the tree canopy going by, this yellow and gold now faded to more of a grayish hue as the stars are beginning to become visible. Uh, it's past sunset right now. You hold on, waiting for this cart to take you where it will. Meanwhile, Notrix and Don, have you spent all of the midday looking for a camel?
Hell yeah.
Well, hang on. When was that sermon that was that? Were we? Sorry. Were we given a time for that?
You weren't given a specific time, and because you weren't given a specific time, I'll tell you that there's a very good chance that you will very fortunately arrive there at the time that it happens to be starting.
Wow.
We'll
But
just show up. We'll show up when we feel like showing up, because I feel like they would start it when they feel like starting. They're just a type that would do that, right?
yeah. I guess. I don't know. Do we have time to do camel investigation in that case? Do you think?
How many hours we got till we feel like it?
You've got at least a few hours.
I'd say
Okay.
so.
Yeah, at
Well,
least a couple.
one thing I know about
So both of you guys
camels.
roll investigation.
Well,
Okey-dokey.
I was thinking of maybe doing something specific to try and find camels.
Oh, sure. What
'Cause
specific
one thing
things
I
does
know about
Notrix try to
camels
do?
is that they're very, very smelly. So I was thinking maybe you can sniff around in the direction they've gone as an animal and try and get a smell of them, either from a week ago or maybe if they're still around, fresh smells.
Yeah. I'm not even going to make you roll for this. I'll say that as you sort of go out towards the edges, perimeters of the museum as a cat, Dawn just sort of flitting above you, you do pick up the scent. You follow it towards the northeast where you heard they escaped, and you find nothing that seems terribly recent, though you do encounter little strands of what you put together are smelly camel fur that have actually been caught in the pine needles. And you follow these uh, up to a point where you see that the gate, which it seems is even as light as it was, much less robust here, as it just wends straight through this sort of forested area obscured by the trees, that there's a section of it about a meter wide where, just like the bars of the cages, the top of the gate seems to have been somehow singed, burnt away.
So wait, is this gate on what wall is this gate in?
This is up here, sort of it's like the city gate, the
Ah,
light city gate, or I should say fence.
Pick that one more time.
You follow, you find traces of camel hair caught on the pine needles, and eventually you find a little section of the fence that's been burnt away.
Burnt away.
and Notrix, I guess, turns back and goes, Well, it looks like however they escaped here, similar tactics were used to get out of the main gate as they were out of the cages.
The thingy one.
Maybe. As I said, I'm not actually sure that exists properly. But
Or maybe it was camels. I heard their breath is real bad.
I don't think camels breathe fire. I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm not sure,
If your
but
breath is
maybe.
bad enough, don't you think it could melt something?
Well, honestly, there has to be some sort of humans involved. Animals can't go and escape on their own. I mean, animals aren't
Yeah.
completely stupid, but
But a heist is kind of complicated, I guess. Especially for penguins. I mean, those things can't even fly.
oh yeah.
As you spend a little bit more time kind of looking around this area, you do eventually find a little distance beyond what is clearly the top of that fence of this meter wide section that was kind of burnt off. That seems to also, at the ends of this sort of bar and the little bit of fencing attached to it have been singed in the same way.
So, the so this section of fence, the top was cut off. So it was sort of cut horizontally, and the fence was made shorter, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
How much
Makes
shorter
sense, I
was it?
mean-
How much of the top was cut off? Like, was it easy enough for camels to step over it? I guess.
Or no, I'm sorry. Uh, this fence, it's sort of, I misspoke. This fence is sort of like a driven stake sort of fence, sort of uh, driven pieces and then bars going between them. However, instead of being wood, it seems like it's a combination of wood and metal. And it seems like these crossbars going between them, a couple of them in this about a meter wide section, seem to have just been taken out of the fence.
So the Campbells could have just walked through.
I suppose so. Well, it definitely seems they're out of the city then.
Way out of the city. You think they'll be alright out there?
Well, I don't know how a bunch of cyclops, camels, and penguins will fare out there. I mean, if they're being laid out there by some sort of poacher or something,
Maybe.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. It's just kind of strange.
don't the penguins have to be really cold?
I think so normally.
Yeah.
Uh,
So they
That's why
might
the
be,
cage was heated,
overheating.
cooled. I don't think they'd overheat here, but they might be uncomfortable. I mean, it's not a desert.
Makes sense.
Um,
Do we go out there? Search a little more,
hmm.
or I mean,
So, you said in the past, in the previous sessions, that the whole wall, the whole fence was being watched by the towers. I guess is this place like particularly obscured from the towers, and so this well breakage of the wall wasn't noticed.
You can definitely see that there's a tower in sight. However, the pine trees here are dense enough. It does seem feasible, at least, that this could have been broken off without the towers noticing, though you can't be totally certain.
gods here suck.
Well, this area is a bit more shaded, but
Yes.
well, I'm not sure. Well, what do you think? Do you think we should try and investigate further outside the walls? I mean, they've got to. If they're heading away from the city, they'll be well a week away by now, unless they're.
You're right.
I don't know.
I mean, wasn't there that whole like rabbit plague too? Like, what if they caught that weird plague thing?
Well, from what I understand, the rabbit plague sort of stopped when all the rabbits were died. But I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe there's similar things. I don't know. But I think maybe. Maybe we
Maybe
should.
we could look in the forest for like an hour. Just
Yeah,
to make sure. Why not? Like,
Just
just
go
make
out
sure that there's
there.
no corpses,
I mean,
penguins who set up shop.
other than that, I guess we need to keep our ears out for any mention of, a bunch of animals just being walking through central Kandarin.
Yeah, good idea.
So I guess,
can we
investigate?
investigate?
Basically, going outside of the wall again. But
Not too long though, like an hour. Like we'll
yeah,
walk
and
out for
trying
like
to be
half an hour.
stealthy about
something.
it. Maybe
Yeah,
Don.
like we don't want to get caught by guards, right?
Yeah, and
We'll be,
Yeah.
go
we'll
back
be
in animal
fine.
form
We
and
have
such.
invisibility.
Yeah. Since I didn't make you roll for the first part, I'm not going to have you roll for the second part either, and say that with just an hour of looking, poking around these trees of this escape that purportedly happened close to a week ago, and staying out of sight of the guard towers, it's difficult to find anything that gives you any clues as to where they might have gone other than in this general direction. Uh, you don't find any sign that they're still around here. Yeah,
Hmm.
this hour of investigation doesn't give you, either of you, very much to go on. Only that this uh, section of fence was cut away fairly cleanly, and these animals must have escaped this way.
Well,
I don't think camels are real good with knives, right?
I'm not sure it's knives that we're dealing with. It
Or
sounds like fire.
yeah, look at. But
Uh,
this clean a cut. It's weird.
well, there's that spell that we both know. That's a flaming sword. That might do it,
Oh,
but I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know. That's a similar thing. I'm not quite sure that would cut through anything the way this.
No,
seems
you're
to.
right. You know what that means? The animal abductors? It was a druid.
Well, I mean, if it is that spell,
Obviously.
if it is that spell, it could be something completely different, and that maybe other people
Another-
know that spell.
Oh, really? Okay.
I,
But
I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
But I
I
think
mean-
in any case, well, they're not around here anymore, and I mean, I don't think we want to be leaving the city right at this moment.
Yeah, let's go back.
So, yeah, so we'll see if anything comes up later.
Yeah. Ugh, I need to find worse and get him to cast prestidigitation or something.
Or
I
you
hate
can
this
just
puke.
actually wash your clothes properly instead of relying on magic.
Nah. And I fly off towards the city.
Shots fired. So, as you guys finish up your investigation, and I assume eventually head back towards the Temple of Nani, Alistair and Alcana, as it's become evening, what do you guys do?
Hmm. Honestly, probably just continue chatting.
I mean,
Or do you, unless you have other ideas?
I mean, we could always go look more into any of the three things we talked about with the gnome, really.
Hmm. I guess the bit about Subnash would have probably stood out to her the most.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely kind of weird. So, where did he tell us to go? He didn't tell us to go anywhere about that stuff, did he? No, he only gave us places to people to talk to for the other two things. Actually, wonderful.
Hmm. Hmm? Rond? You
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm just waiting to hear what you guys are doing.
there?
I mean, maybe now is a good time for Alistair to just go do some stuff somewhere else to make himself not feel so. Ugh, I've been locked in the dungeon for 5 months. My body, my mind just feeling shit. Is he still feeling that? Kind of sucks. It's depressing.
Uh. And well, if they were going to split off, I think that Okana would probably want to just go find a quiet spot alone to pray.
Yes, she's able to find that easily enough. In fact, there are a couple of churches of Saradomin here in the city that she's able to find out about easily enough. Uh, there's one, uh, sort of the most prominent one, is in the West March neighborhood that you guys just left, a fairly humble church. Though there is, though there are other ones in the city.
She'd probably stick with the more humble-looking one that's closest. Feels more like home.
All right. And Alistair, are you chasing up any of the leads that the gnome gave you, whether to go to one of these gnomish tutors or to look into these magic focused sources?
Probably the gnomes.
All right. So, is it's kind of come onto evening?
I mean, if it's that late, then
It's not really that late. It's still fairly early in the evening, uh, and it's not very far. It's here in the North March district. You head towards the place that was described to you as Dylondora, and you see that in this area, the street is actually tree lined, and the trees lining it seem to be a little bit more exotic than the other ones in the city, as if they've been specifically planted here. As the house itself comes into view, it's in the typical style of an Ardoinian house, um, this sort of wattle and daub. However, it is 3 stories, very long, a very surprisingly large structure, and much of it is obscured by trees. You can see that there are actually sort of a well-to-do cart kind of passing by and dropping off a couple of gnomes who go scurrying into it. And you can see that it seems to be kind of a courtyard in the center of this building, as if the whole thing is sort of O-shaped or in the shape of like a hollow rectangle. But what catches your eye the most is something else parked kind of to the corner, at the corner of this building, this loud kind of you see what looks like a cart, a very scrappy cart, a cart with some soot on it. The wheels look like they're not in the best repair. Parts of it look like they're kind of cobbled together. That does not seem to have neither an animal yoked to it nor a space where you can rein an animal in. Instead, there's some kind of a large contraption on the back of it, and what looks like a dwarf kind of huddling over it and kind of taking some kind of a metal implement and just whacking it a couple times. And each time you hear it, they go.
Alice just kind of stares at the guy for a couple seconds. Then, excuse me, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, who is this? And you see your dwarf turns to you. His face is completely black, and you realize after a second that it's with the exhaust of whatever this thing is that he was working on. Yeah, yeah. Can I help you with something?
What are you doing there?
Oh, I am working on this. This is my most fantastic invention yet. Yes, this is the horse. I did not say that. This is the oxless carriage. Is it not a thing of beauty?
Is it a thing of beauty?
It is not a thing of beauty.
Totally, of course. So
Yeah, yeah, it's wunderbar, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Mr.
Oh, my name is Laysmith, Dr. Sigurd Laysmith.
Sorry, I can't. Hang on. Okay, I'm good. That
Is
name
something
sounds
wrong, young sir?
It's just that name sounds a little familiar. That's all.
Nine. There is only one Dr. Sigurd Laysmith, and you look upon him. Ha!
Sure you're not an archaeologist there, pal.
Oh, nine, not me. No. To be honest, most of my family, they are in the smithing trade, but no. My mind turns to greater things. Yes, this is why I have been called to this place. they need the eyes of an expert.
So your oxenless carriage there. What is well, I suppose what it does should be obvious, but how does it do what it does?
It is a bit complicated. I'm not sure you can understand this, but you see this big box? He whacks it again with the middle thing. Well, there is a fire in there. Yes, it is combustion, and when this fire turns on, it makes it heats up the water in here, and you see there's like a secondary kind of, not an orb, but like a sort of spherical thing on top of this box that he whacks again, and you kind of hear a slosh. And it makes the steam that turns around a wheel, and it makes these large wheels go around, and then you can go around for as long as you want, as long as you have several tons of kindling, and drive around without any oxen. It is a miracle. It is the future.
But then wouldn't you have to have somewhere to put the kindling?
It is not completely complete yet. But soon, yeah.
Have you considered a magical component for that?
Oh, nine. Dwarves have no business working with magic, no.
Is that so?
Yeah, I only know of one other person who is even a fraction of the genius that I am, and that is who I come here to meet, though I do hope he will not be too angry with me. I am absent-minded sometimes. I am supposed to be here a month ago, but I am sure it is fine.
And who is this person you're here to meet?
Oh, that is a gnome. I understand this is a gnome place. I don't know why it sounds slightly Russian now. Named Alarin Ruff.
Alistair just kind of looks down. I see.
Yes, he is making something mechanical, much like this. But he wants me to make an implement for it.
Mr. Laysmith.
Very fancy.
Mr.
Very
Laysmith.
wonderful. Yes, Dr. Laysmith, if you please.
Alarin Ruff is dead.
He just sort of tilts his head, and he says, "Oh, nine. You are mistaken. Gnomes, they all have the same names anyway. Different guy."
He was an inventor. He was building a metallic suit of some kind. Walking suit. Old suit of armor.
His face kind of is trying to register what you're saying. It hasn't quite fallen. It's just more confused, unsure how to process this.
It's better that I tell you now than for you to figure it out some other way. Trust me on that.
Yeah. What is your name?
Name's Oliver.
Oliver, yes. How are you knowing Alarin Ruff?
We met in a well, not the nicest of places really. Ardoin has fallen on some hard times recently.
He just kind of nods his head, even though it's clear he doesn't really understand. And I am so proud of what I make for him, too. It is not as good as the oxenless carriage, but it is pretty okay.
If it means anything to you, oh, the hell with it. If it means anything to you, his invention was pretty successful.
Ah, so you got to see it working firsthand.
Unfortunately, I dare say that it was the working of that led to his death.
His brows furrow. This is something I am having trouble understanding. Hmm. This is an odd conversation to have with someone just out on the street, a stranger to me. No, we are not strangers any longer. Oliver, Dr. Laysmith, mutual friends. And I suppose you have business inside, yes?
I don't know. I don't feel like dealing with that business tonight anyway.
Mr. Oliver, you know, I have worked with Alarin Rolf before. He is eccentric, but very much a good fellow. If you're not going inside tonight, what say you and me hop on the carriage, and go drink and tell stories of Alarin Rolf, because he is a good man who deserves to be remembered with song and accolades of his successes, not to be mourned in tears. He is wunderbar.
I'm afraid I don't have many stories. I didn't know him very long.
Well, then you listen to me. I like to talk more than I like to listen.
Fine, but only if you're paying.
Oh, of course. To be a genius like me carries more than the life of a mendicant. Here, hop aboard, Mr. Oliver.
Does this thing look safe?
Not especially, but I don't think Alistair's ever been known to live an especially safe life.
I mean, I don't think explode. Actually, you know what? I can't even say that, so never mind. Yeah, he gets on.
Yeah, it's a bit dingy inside. It's like, the back of someone's car who spends most of their time in it. There are kind of bits of wax paper that are greasy with ordered foods takeaway, but it's fine. He kind of starts it up, it sputters to life. You head for the bars for a night of drinking with Dr. Sigurd Laysmith. That ended far too abruptly. So, Logie, as you stick aboard, your knuckles gripping, this cart rattling along, you see sort of the gilt strand pass behind you. You see it once more maneuver around this line of ornate carts that are slowly entering within the walls of Crown Rise, of Castle Ardignus, rattles over the bridge and towards past the High Market. Eventually, after another half hour, you recognize the statue that you saw before, the figure that was identified to you as Queen Candace, sort of crushing an 8-point star under her foot. In one hand, a spear, and in the other, a scepter stylized in the shape of a tree. Cart turns half a block, and then it stops. You look and you see a very well-to-do building. The lower floor stone, the upper one wattle and daub. And its front, a sign. On the top of it, what looks like the symbol of the Menethite god Het. And underneath that, the Surgeon's Guild. You see the door open and one of them call out, "Ho! Good evening, Guildmaster. Would you like to bring your cart around the back?" And he calls the voice from up in front of the cart. "Ah, yes, of course. If you'll just open that up for me, we'll get all of this nonsense sorted." Do you stay on, Logie, as the cart drives around the side of this building to where you see a large wooden door is opening?
I like. Is it very enclosed or?
Yes, it looks like it's sort of a garage almost.
Yeah, I think I'll stay on. The light is still dim, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Ah, yes. Then I can keep being invisible.
Yes. Stay invisible, huddled here under the cart as it disappears into the rear of the Surgeons Guild. And with that, go ahead and end our session.